Elon Musk, and he said that this was something that was a direct danger to the democracy and the basic rights of Americans. And we know, of course, that many of his advisors, both formal and informal, are, of course, billionaires several times over. Are these advisors really people who do want to shake up the government, as they say, to benefit working people, or are they disruptors and billionaires looking out for himself?
Recapping the top story, the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa has embarked on an indefinite strike at the Bidvest SA Container Depot in Durban over the retrenchment of 106 members. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today, SMS CAR to 43187.
Outsurance has another random fact for you. In 1997, a loaf of bread cost only 2 rand. Now, it's about 24 rand. Prices just keep going up. But you can count on Outsurance's commitment to saving you big bucks on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Cyril saves 358 rand a month on his 2023 GWM P-Series 4x4.
It was mind-blowing. It was quick and easy. That saving is actually saving my paycheck. Leave all the insurances and come to Outsurance, because they will save.
Another satisfied Outsurance customer. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. And when it comes to service, Outsurance is on the ball. Valid claims are settled and paid out quickly with no hassle. SMS out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
My name is Bandi Linyawane. I'm 17 and I'm a professional cricket player. While on tour, I was battling to keep up with school, so my parents moved me to UCT Online High School. It's changed the game for me with the ability to learn from anywhere. I can get ahead and stay ahead. Sign up at uctonlinehighschool.com. It's not too late. Applications close 20 January 2025.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
With Outsurance Essential, you could start your new year with insurance savings on your older car. With Outsurance Essential, accident claims are paid in cash, so you can choose the panel beater you want to use. You can even top it up with motor warranty, which covers you for mechanical or electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rand. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Nothing is impossible if you have big dreams. It was Nelson Mandela who said, "It seems impossible until it is done." But then how does one move from something seemingly impossible and turn that into a reality? For me, the word dreams comes to mind. Dreams, vision, purpose, and passion. I say on television, our planet is a dot in the universe. We are just dots on our planet. But if each of us do one thing, we reshape our planet's future. It's way too late. This whole emotional impotency, I'm only one person, I can't do anything. We are obligated as custodians to look after this fragile home.
Bram Malherbe, an adventurer, author and motivational speaker, starting us off on the talking point this morning. It's 10 after 9 o'clock. Welcome to the show. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana with you until midday as we lead conversations that move us. Coming up on the show, of course, in the first hour, it is the open line. It's your national roundtable, so absolutely we can get the conversation going. One of the stories that we spoke about a bit yesterday seems to have developed quite significantly in the last 24 hours. Still more live pictures coming out of Stilfontein. And today, of course, the operation seems to have moved quite quickly. They believe that they've been able to retrieve all of the illegal miners that have been underground. Police, of course, still needing to verify if in fact that is the case. It's an operation that was set down for 14 days, but all indications now that it could end much sooner than expected. Of course, it does come with what has been the news around the retrieval, not only of the people that were underground, but also of those that had died. The number being 78 now, confirmed dead, and over 200 that have been brought back to the surface alive since Monday, when this particular operation started. So certainly want to continue keeping an eye on. Also, one of the big stories internationally, right, the ceasefire coming out between Israel and Hamas, and it seems to be a ceasefire, one of that is probably or promises to be more credible and sustainable than those that have been announced in the last 12 months. And of course, it's as a result of the latest flare-up in the Middle East. That conflict has been raging for the last 15 months, at least, in terms of the recent flare-up that we've all been watching as the world. And there seems to be jubilation really around the announcement. Of course, it has come at a great cost. Many lives have been lost. The impact, I think, even on the global economy is one that we will continue to count for a number of years. Certainly South Africa issuing its statement, welcoming the news of a ceasefire, but then also asking that there be clear steps to outline exactly how they're going to ensure that the ceasefire is one that is sustainable. Staying, of course, with international developments, let's just go to our neighbor, Mozambique. Yesterday, we saw the installment of the new Mozambican president, Daniel Chapo. He's now officially the country's president, and we know that our government was members. Our president was there, including some members of cabinet. So it is an inauguration that we were part of, election results that we have supported, an outcome that we have rubber stamped, right? But despite the inauguration, there of course still remains unrest and turmoil in Mozambique. The inauguration has not ended the questions around the credibility of the elections there. It has not ended the questions around whether or not the outcome of the election was free and fair. And one wonders then what the future is going to be. We've seen weeks of unrest. South Africa has been in the midst of that. Our own trade routes, our own movement across the borders, affected by it. Does it mean it's all going to come to an end? Well, we'll have to wait and see, because some members of the opposition at least are still very upset about the situation, and there has been no official declaration of the ending of the protest by those who were opposed to the election outcome. But nonetheless, we now have a new president. So there's quite a lot for us to get into this morning on the open line. Of course, you can call in on 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial, 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. That's where I'll take your calls, your WhatsApp voice notes. Coming up on the show today, in the second hour of the show, it is a Thursday, so we'll be getting into Municipal Watch. And today, we're focusing on the Ray Nkonyene municipality, and it seems to be a case of workers against the municipality. Workers in that particular area have been incredibly frustrated. They are saying that they have been severely affected by service delivery, and there seem to be issues around payments and compensation for their services over a period of 2 months. They've been on a strike because they also have not been provided with the tools of trade, which they say are preventing them from actually carrying out their responsibilities. So we'll get to the nitty-gritty of it in the second hour of the show and really get to understand what is happening there. And then the final hour of the show, well, we've been talking about matric learners and back to school. Of course, it's also back to institutions of higher learning for those that are pursuing different paths of studying there. And the issue of universities and funding coming up again. And what are the ways in which universities can also come up with means to fund student fees, and what role really can universities play, and should they be expected to play? That's a conversation we'll have in the final hour of the show. We'll be in conversation with the Dean of Student Affairs at Wits University. He'll speak about what their institution is doing, and of course we'll be hoping to bring in more institutions of higher learning as we also build up to these institutions opening their doors. That will be next month, end of the month. Usually registrations start sometime round about now, and then around first week of Feb is when classes officially kick off. So we can get the conversation going. It is your open line. I'm looking forward to being in conversation with you. Please feel free to raise any matter of national importance that you want to put on the national round table. Let me take a quick break. I'm back with your calls.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one get one offer, you get great value for money. You know you can trust us with over 350 stores nationwide. Get a free pair of branded prescription sunglasses up to 3,200 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye test and spectacle frame with lenses on your first pair. Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Tommy Hilfiger, Carolina Herrera and more. There really is no reason to go anywhere else. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Abafana West 10 and the Rockets are both looking for a decent spot in the top half. They are all confident they will walk away from the battlefield with jubilance. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch the great passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game. Golden Arrows FC takes on TS Galaxy FC on Saturday 18 January live on SABC 1 at 2:30 p.m. and SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
All right, let's start off this morning in the Eastern Cape. Lonwabo, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. I hope you're doing good.
I'm doing well. What do you want to talk about this morning?
Sorry, Cathy. Yesterday, having taken pride of myself, I bought some property.
Okay.
And now, yesterday, the courier came delivering my title deed from the conveyancer.
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited. Now, on receiving this document, I'm opening, I'm reading it, and now my excitement was shattered. It's written in Afrikaans. You know. And I'm wondering, where is this transformation actually taking place? because this is a document that gives me title in that property, which probably in all likelihood that is something that I'm going to keep for the rest of my life, likely that transferred to my kids and their kids. It's written in Afrikaans. Because it's a document that occasionally I just take it, I read it. Because I say, oh, I'm owning something. It's written in Afrikaans.
Look, Lonwabo, I don't know, is there standard language that title deeds are offered in? I don't know. I've only ever seen them in English. But I do know that you have the option of choosing sometimes when you're filling out forms what your language of preference is.
I've not. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's unusual or if it's strange. We'll put it out to the rest of the community. The SFM listeners that are tuned in, title deeds in different languages.
I assume it's supposed to be like that, like as you're saying. The convincing lawyers have never been given an option to say, how would you like to receive your title deed? And it's a property that I've bought cash. It's not like it's paid off. But quite honestly, I really was disappointed. And I'm wondering if there could be a chance that I send it back. It's written, at least, let's say in English, but I would love it to have written in Xhosa. It is my language, by the way.
Yeah.
Why should we have these languages? Since 1976, we thought we did raise our voices to say, no, we should not have these languages pushed down our throats. Now came 1994. We are 30 years down the line. We thought that at least these things should have been sorted out. You know, sometimes, Cathy, when I hear Afrikaners or African-speaking people complaining that their language is being killed and so on and so forth, you know, when you buy medicine, particularly pills, there is that pamphlet inside that gives these are the dosages and so on and so forth. It has got two languages. One side is English, the other side is Afrikaans. So those are the things. Say, where is this transformation happening? When is it happening?
Okay, Lonwabo, all right. Lonwabo out in the Eastern Cape. Congratulations, though, on your property.
Thank you, Cathy. Okay, bye.
Thanks for that, Lonwabo. Yeah, I'm wondering, is it strange that Lonwabo's title deed arrived in Afrikaans? I know that, let's say with a permission to occupy certificate, depending on where you are, which area you're in, often you'll get that in the language of the tribal authority that you are under, right? They don't issue them in English necessarily. So yeah, I wonder what happened there. But I'm keen to hear about different people's experiences. I don't know enough, to be honest, about this. One message has come in. It says, in South Africa, the standard language for title deed is typically English. However, depending on the region or the parties involved, it can also be provided in Afrikaans, as both English and Afrikaans are official languages in the country. Title deeds are generally issued in the language of the property registration or as agreed upon by the parties involved in the transaction, but English is the most common. Yeah, thanks for that message. I think it explains it well enough. Maybe Lonwabo, maybe we should ask, who are you buying the property from, right? That also matters. It could also be a result of that. But I'm really happy to take your input on this. Zig, you're out in Randburg. Good morning.
Good morning. Is it Cathy I'm speaking to?
Yes, it is, Zig.
Welcome back. Cathy, I'm wanting to express serious concern about the big stain on South Africa's history, which has been left by this Zama massacre, which really deserves a thorough inquiry with terms of reference which stretch back to the origin of this, which is going about 20 years. and which was left uninvestigated and undealt with by even our head of police, who subsequently became Minister of Minister of Police, Becky Shelley. I heard them, David. Oh God, no, I forgot his surname. The man in charge of the spokesman for the adverse mining situations, the Benchmark Foundation. I heard him saying that Becky Shelley was acquainted with, in some manner or other, with a man who may well have been profiteering from these Zama kind of slave labor all these many years, and so that suggests that our authorities have been profiteering as well from those Zamas, and that's why they let them carry on, like our mining minister did, in violation of the mining operations, in violation of gold sales. You're not allowed to trade with gold like that they are trading with.
But
in violation of our pollution, they are polluting our. They dissolve the gold with mercury, which we get in our drinking water, and nobody's done a thing about it. A whole lot of authorities. We need a Marikana type commission or a Zondo commission to get at the root of this evil.
So, Zig, what do you think a commission would accomplish in this instance? And you use very good examples. Marikana Commission. All of those findings, all of those recommendations, where are we today?
You're right.
Zondo Commission.
Nothing will happen.
All of those findings, all of those recommendations, all that money spent, where are we today?
Well, we must at least make an attempt, like Zondo did, and he's my hero. I'm not sure that I can say the same for the Marikana Commission guy who forgot to go into the details about how the foreign socialists were involved in trying to instigate a Bolshevik revolution with our mining industry. But yeah, let's leave that alone. It's gone over the hill. But we must not let this one go.
All right, Zig out in Randburg, saying that we need a commission on the mining issue. To what end, right? To what end? Because information in this country, even potentially incriminating information, comes to naught, right? It's just an opportunity to ventilate, an opportunity for us to sit, shock, horror, gasp. What? And then who did what? And then we have sensational headlines over the period of that commission, and you just can't believe the things that are being said and the evidence that is coming out. And then what? And then what? Because ultimately it all comes down to institutions doing their work. And as long as institutions are not doing their work, whether you have a commission or not, whether you have recommendations or not, nothing is going to change. Lucky, you're in Paarl. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. I know you are well. I'm well too.
Hey, Lucky, you guys crack me up, eh?
Yeah, we are here to make your day, Academy.
So when I say don't say good morning, you decide that you're not going to say, when I said don't ask me how I am, you decide you're not going to ask me, but you're going to talk about it anyway. You're going to ask yourself how you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
so that we can give other people a chance. Yeah. What I want to talk about is this conversation that's doing the rounds regarding the with the metric writing the NSC and the IEB. I remember last year vividly when Lesotho was talking about when he was interviewing an SAFM. I agree with him, you know, and this morning I listened to my colleague, because I also work for Stellenbosch University, by the way, listening to my colleague, Professor Janssen, with Tuba Season. And I didn't, the critics for me, okay, let me put it this way. The problem that we have as South Africans sometimes is we look at who is saying what, and then we criticize based on that. All what Lesotho are saying, and also read Prof. Pakeng as well, saying the same thing, the former UCT Vice Chancellor, saying that we're celebrating mediocrity. And the call is, if we're saying the children should write the same exam, I agree. They're not saying we must write national certificate or the right IEP. We're saying they must write one examination, because look at it, we are governed by the same policy, all the schools, be it independent or government. The Bella Bill, for instance, govern everybody. So what we should be saying, and not we should be saying, okay, we've got children who are going into grade 8 now. We rather maybe want the ones who are going to grade 8 next year start preparing to write the same exam in 5 years' time, and then we plan accordingly. Or we're saying those who are going to grade 1 this year, in 12 years' time, they need to write the same education, and we prepare the curriculum for that. And then we can proceed. But if we don't say when we want to start and how to start, we'll ever be talking about this and disagreeing about this for the next 100 years. We need to decide when we want to get there.
Lucky candidates, you know, some IEB candidates have the option of not only writing IEB exams, an IEB exam, but also the exam that is offered by DBE.
Okay.
So the option, but the difficulty is that not all IEB centers necessarily have National Senior Certificate accreditation. So it would actually be easy for everybody to write one exam. But I don't think that people should not have the option. So if you want to do, let's say, if you want to take 7 extra or 3 extra subjects, whether it's applied mathematics, additional mathematics, that are not necessarily offered in the DBE curriculum, I don't think you need to be restricted by those options. I think people have a right to have options. By all means, standardize and let everybody write the same test for whatever reasons, but I don't think that means that now you must necessarily get rid of the other options that are available, because those open different doors, and they're not necessarily within South Africa's borders. They're also outside of the country's borders.
I agree with you, but others, if you listen to what I said, it's about planning. If we're saying, okay, I must be honest, it cannot happen tomorrow. It cannot happen in the next 2 years that we write the exam. But if we start planning now, say, right, in so many years, we want to be in this position where we're doing this. If these extra subjects that you're talking about, if we do forward planning, those examinations can also come into this government schools, if I can use that word. But we just have to forward to plan properly.
All right, Lucky. It's time for the latest headlines.
Good morning. In the headlines, the majority of illegal miners rescued from an abandoned mine in South Africa's northwest province are Mozambicans. The South African Police Service says of the 246 illegal miners rescued at Shaft 11 in Stilfontein this week, 128 are Mozambicans. The National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa has embarked on an indefinite strike at the Bidvest SA container depot in Durban over the retrenchment of 106 members. And there's hope that the 15-month conflict in Gaza may come to an end after Israel and Hamas agreed to a ceasefire deal and the release of hostages. The ceasefire will come into effect on Sunday. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Just last month, it was December, the season to be merry, or December, for those who know that it's not just a month, but a lifestyle. Now it's January and life is threatening watching financially. There's back to school and your own goals, and January is on everyone's lips.
Mara, you can get the relief you need right now and start the year strong with the personal loan from Nedbank with access up to 400,000 Rand. Search Nedbank Personal Loans and get a loan that offers you more. Nedbank. See money differently. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The Oranges boys want to wrap up their group campaign on a winning note, while Stellies want to deliver a masterclass performance to triumph away from home. This is the Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup. Experience the joy of African football. RSB Pekana FC versus Stellenbosch FC on Sunday, 19 January at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Happy New Year, South Africa! SAFM wishes you a prosperous and joyful 2025 as we step into a new year of possibilities. We're here, leading the conversations that move us. Thank you for being part of the SAFM family. Here's to making 2025 a year to remember. Together, SAFM, leading the conversations that move us in 2025.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
Hey, this is Cathy and all SAFM listeners, good morning. The genocide of Stilfontein. That's the issue that I want to ventilate on it. And I strongly believe, Sis Cathy, that there is a strong case against the state. Minister in the presidency must be held responsible for the death of over 70 mine workers in Stilfontein. The state has deliberately smoked them out by denying them access to food, of which, in my view, is tantamount to genocide by this so-called Government of National Unity. This is Andile from Stakespruit in the Eastern Cape, nearest to borders.
Morning, it's Rosani here in Kempton Park. We have just heard that almost 2,000 people have been rescued in Stilfontein, and South Africans, they only 27. The rest are foreigners. So maybe the advice that we can give to government, do not do any DNA. South Africans are waiting for the DNA test results. It's taking long. Give everybody who is not breathing a purpose barrier.
Hello, Cathy. You know, I like what Lonwabo is saying, especially with the medication. I've also realized, because someone raised it to me, that when you're buying medicine, the pharmacists, they usually stick the instruction paper or the name and surname, on the English side. And therefore, when you remove it, it removes the box as well, parts of the box. So, but they never stick it on the African side. So it actually looks as if the pharmacists are programmed to do that. Every time they stick your name on the box, they stick on the English side. And they cover it completely. Then you are left with the African side that instructs you how to use the medicine. This is just so shocking. I've actually told my pharmacist, don't do that. Please paste it on the African side because I want to read the English part. Thanks, it's Bongi here.
Hi, Cathy. Hi, SAFM listeners. Regarding your first caller who called about the title deed he received being written in Afrikaans, I happen to work in that industry, so I'll remain anonymous. The standard language should be English, and by the person's surname also gives an indication of what language should be used on the title deed. The caller, I'm assuming, is a black African male. So the default language should have been English. It's an unconscious bias that still exists in some of the institutions that are in South Africa that I have experienced personally. Anonymous, Cape Town. Thank you.
Geez, Anonymous, all right. Thank you for that WhatsApp voice note. Anonymous saying that it should absolutely be English if it's any other language, as you heard him refer to unconscious bias. Earlier, we got that message from one of our listeners who said, actually, it depends on the people involved in the transaction and the options that people go for. In terms of the pharmacist and the label, I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen that, hey, Bongi. I have not experienced that. Maybe no, I really haven't experienced it. Sometimes the label is on the English, sometimes it's on the Afrikaans. But I wouldn't say that all the time, that all the pharmacists in the country have been trained that way. I don't know. Yeah, I'm happy to take other views on it, but like I'm saying, I wouldn't be that definitive about it. I think it depends on what you get on the day, really. I just get irritated that they actually paste it over the instructions. Why don't they paste it over the page, over the side of the box, where it's just got temperatures and things like that? Why must they put it right in front, is what I have an issue with. Okay, let me go to Derek in Guyana. Good morning, Derek.
Good morning, Katie. Yeah, I'm just calling on behalf of our village, formerly known as Gandlanani, which is Kani. We just have a big electricity problem in our village, hoping that maybe the seniors from the ministry will be able to assist us, because at least twice a week we have fuse blast every week, and turnaround time for ESCOM to come and assist us sometimes it's more than 24 hours. As we speak now, the past weekend, it went out around midday. It was fixed the following day in the afternoon, and part of the village is still in blackout. When we check, there's a transformer that is no longer operating. They are saying they are out of stock. They do not have transformers. So we are desperate. We are destitute. We need assistance, hoping that SAFM will let Ramakhuba and his colleagues know of our problem, because every week, there's something wrong with our electricity. Thank you.
Sure. Oh, okay. All right, Derek, you've put it on the table. We'll certainly try and get more details about what's happening in your area and try and follow that up with ESCOM. Dintwe, you are in Tabanshu. Good morning.
Good morning, Chika. How are you?
Good.
Good. Now, I listened to Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi with this saying of our children must write the same exams. I do agree with him. But the problem, what we have in education, this is the thing that he or they as government must look into. Because in our township and rural schools, lack of discipline among the children, among the staff, among the school management. Because other schools, those that are doing the IED exams, there's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of cooperation with teachers and the management. But in our school, I don't know if then, because he said this NEC or what exam, which is written by our public schools, or the IED, they will look, or the best one, they will choose it. But what I wonder is that if they choose the IED exam for all schools, will our children and our teachers go to do that? That's the thing that they must first investigate and try install discipline in our schools.
For me, the question is, what problem are we trying to solve for in writing one exam?
No, I don't know what the problem they want to solve, but they say, I'm sure the problem that they want to solve, they will say equality. All exams and all our children must write the same exams so that they must be at the same path. But if you don't have committed staff and teachers and principals to manage the schools, because there's no way that our children can progress as those in IEB schools now.
Yeah, look, I don't know, Hayden Dwe. The reality is that we are now, just yesterday, in unpacking the Northern Cape and the reasons why the matric results for a province like that are so, why the province is always at the bottom, and really trying to understand what the challenges in that area are. One quickly realizes that in order to make education efficient for everyone, what we are going to have to start seeing within our education system is having ways of learning that accommodate the broad spectrum of people that exist in our society. So this idea of uniformity for the sake of uniformity could well not be something that works for where we are, but also for the future that we are going into. Because what we have an appreciation for today, perhaps more than we have before, is that individuals are not the same, individuals don't learn the same, and individuals are not always going to be good at the same things. So that's why I asked the question, what are we solving for? Because on the one hand, we're also pushing for specialized schools that deal with specific focus areas, so that if you identify a particular talent in a child, you're able to send them to that school from early on. It grows that talent, and they're able to do whatever they want to with their lives when they grow up. But then if we, on the one hand, we're doing that on the side, and then on the other we're saying, no, but we must have one exam. I don't know. What is it exactly that we're trying to solve for?
I know, you see, also, we brought these problems ourselves as the ANC government. Because as you say, the specialized schools, they got rid of all those specialized schools. That is why now everyone is choosing in the same direction. And whereas Pindwe is, you can be well be experienced in bricklaying or motor mechanic. Those things they have taken, they got rid of them in high schools. Where the problem is, we let engineers, we let what, we have to import specialized people. Whereas we had those schools, and the ANC government proved them all.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Dindwe out in Tabanchu, we'll leave it there. I'm certainly not completely convinced about this argument of one exams. I'm still not clear about the problem that we're trying to solve for. And then ultimately, what is the education system that we're building towards? What does that centralization, as it were, mean? Because again, nothing precludes those that are part of other examinations board from taking the NSC exams. However, there are matters of accreditation there. And if the education department were to change that, then of course all learners could write a National Senior Certificate exam, and that could still be the general benchmark. So you can write NSC, you can write IEB, you can write whatever else you want to write. That will be up to you as a student. I know in my matric year, there were quite a number of learners in our school who wrote both IEB and who also did the National Senior Certificate. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, they wrote both exams. Yes, it's hard on the individual, but they wrote both exams. Let me go to Mike in Newlands. Good morning.
Back, I want to just quickly, if I may, just remind everybody that it was last week, Monday, that the ANC circus came to town. And of course, we were well entertained with Fikile Mbalula in his luxury yacht going to Robben Island, arriving late, and of course, the president in his helicopter.
I heard you went with him, Mike.
I would have paid dearly. But the trip just to Robben Island these days is 410 rand, and I can't afford it. I should have snuck on board though. But Cathy, it's the one thing I want to pick up, and I'm hoping, and I'll put out a challenge to your outstanding producer, Lebo. This is something we can follow up on. You're right about the commissions of inquiry. They go nowhere because they're all ultimately controlled by the president. But the promise was made during that. You'll remember when Vice President Paul Mashatile visited the lady with the soup kitchen. She sat there telling him the problems of the soup kitchen, and after him telling us that they are here to save the people of Khayelitsha from the DA, she quite publicly said, and very innocently said, because she's a very sweet, nice lady, she said, thanks to ShopRite Spa and the DA, I can run my soup kitchen. Now, Paul Mashatile then came out, obviously a little bit shaken by that, said he too is going to support this soup kitchen. Now, I'm asking this question. I'm willing to bet you that not one bag of mealie meal has arrived at that lady's house since that promise was made last week on, I think it was Wednesday. And I know for a fact when I spoke to Minister Ramaphosa, I spoke to him at 9 o'clock at night. I forget whose show. At 2 in the morning, Cathy, I got a phone call, which I didn't take because I was fast asleep. But at 5 o'clock, I returned the call. It was Minister Ramaphosa's personal assistant who heard my call and was willing to deal and help me with my problem. I was absolutely gobsmacked. Now, it can be done, but I'm willing to bet that poor lady has received absolutely nothing from the ANC since Paul Mashatile made that promise. And if he does make that promise and if he keeps it, what on earth is he going to say to all the other soup kitchens around the country? But when you live in a mansion worth 48 million, you have no idea what your people are up to and how they're suffering. So would you please ask Lebo to follow up on that, get hold of this lady and say, have you received anything to date? Wouldn't it be fun to find out?
Do you know the lady's name, Mike?
I tell you what, Cathy, I'll make it my business. The DA supports the soup kitchen, so I'll make a few calls, and I would strongly recommend, have a watch of the show, A Citizen Concerned, run by a lady called Katlang Mawahi. A Citizen Concerned is on YouTube. All the information is there, plus the interview with Paul Mashatile, who could barely stay awake listening to this poor lady's troubles and problems she has. But I will find out for you, Cathy, and I will get back to you.
All right. Is it a mishmash of praise and criticism? Was that praise for Minister Ramaphosa covered or buried somewhere in there, Mike?
No, it was absolute praise.
Okay.
Cathy, there are good people in the ANC, but, no, absolutely. I can't tell you, I was so impressed. And by the way, it wasn't me. The lady got slightly confused. So she phoned all the callers that phoned in and spoke to him. I forget who show it was on. And she dealt with every single one of them. Efficiently, quickly, politely. I left her number with me if I ever have him. No, Cathy, the ANC can absolutely shine. But we're run by a crook called Ramaphosa who lies about everything all the way down the line. And as you rightly say, commissions are going to get us nowhere because we're run by a gangster syndicate. Thanks very much, Cathy.
What you're about to hear is not a call from Standard Bank.
Hello, Ma. You just made a payment of 2,000 rand to a store in Guatemala. Yeah, if not, please give me the OTP we've just sent to you and we'll stop this transaction.
Don't fall for it. Standard Bank will never ask you for your one-time PIN over the phone. If you suspect fraud, hang up immediately. Visit our help center on the banking app to learn more or call our fraud line on 0800 222 050. Another lesson to hashtag beat the scam. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
After a 0-all draw at Orlando in December, the Northern and Southern African Giants meet again. The Red Devils want to create a happy mood for their fans, but the Buccaneers want to destroy the Pyramids by collecting maximum points. This is the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Witness the incredible flavor of African football. Al Ahly Sporting Club versus Orlando Pirates FC on Saturday, 18 January at 6 p.m. live on SABC2. Also available everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. It is the open line, of course, still leading the conversation with you. Some of your messages coming in around the issue raised when it comes to the labels on medication by pharmacists. One listener says, in all honesty, a pharmacist doesn't have the time or the inclination to carefully measure where each label should go. I've seen them. They're always in a hurry to finish your order and to get to the next customer. And who reads the label anyway? It's printed so minuscule that no one can read it. Lol. And then Chief Stilo says, morning Cathy, pharmacists will always put the label on the English side for as long as I know. It is deliberate. Okay. Stanley in Guguletu says, Cathy, I totally agree with Bongi. I use about 4 different pharmacies in and around Brackenfell in Cape Town. They all paste the sticker on the English side. I make sure to tell them not to do that. Okay. So I need more people. I need more people to tell me about where the sticker on their medication is put. I'm still not convinced. I'm not convinced that pharmacists deliberately put the label on the English side. And remember what started this conversation, right? It was around the title deed that arrived in Afrikaans and not in English. That was from Lonwabo in the Eastern Cape, who's quite surprised to have received this title deed in that way.
Hi, Cathy. On the medication side of things, I've actually asked my pharmacist why do they stick the label on the English side and not on the Afrikaans side, because it's been bothering me as well for many, many years. And I've discovered that the reason they do that is because they first read the medication to make sure it's the right thing, and then they stick it on that side. It's not because of any ulterior motives or anything. It's because they themselves are reading the medication and comparing it to the label before sticking it on. So that's why most of the time they stick it to the English side. So at least that's the explanation that I received regarding that. Thank you.
Okay, let me go to Willie in Kuma. Willie, good morning.
Hello, thank you, Casey.
Do you know if your pharmacist stick it on the English or the Afrikaans side?
Yeah, okay. My comment on that would be, the way things are running. They got to the extent of bringing in Portuguese language on ultra milk or in other items. The Portuguese language also is creeping in. Your language disappearing further and further into the mountain. So that is there. See how strange things are at some stage. That's only my comment on that case.
All right.
Okay.
You wanted to talk about unemployment, Kumo.
Unemployment case. You see, Cathy, it cannot be correct. I'm not well convinced as well, like saying I'm not convinced about blah, blah, blah. We as well, your callers, are not convinced when you as presenters would try to convince us on some other items or points that we are trying to bring forth. So my point being, it cannot be correct, Casey, that our complaints as scholars would just every time fall on your shoulders because you don't have sufficient answers for us scholars at some stage. That's why, Casey, I'm going for the second time I remember that please try to bring these ministers, these responsible people for these sectors such as Labor Department, Minister of Public Works, Minister of Cooperative, what. Let them come at some stage as early as possible because this is a national review. That's where we can put out our views directly to them, just like Minister of Health. Mutuality has been doing it when he was Minister of Home Affairs, and then he went back to Mutuality to Minister of Health. But when you call him, he comes. But these other ministers would say, oh, you once told me that other ministers wouldn't want to come to answer the plight of the nation completely. to mouth. What you call
Okay.
case.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Willie.
Yeah, that very one case.
We've heard you loud and clear, and I guess the request is that to have them as often as possible so that you as members of the public are also able to hold them accountable. Mama Kitty, you're in Rustenburg. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Cathy. I'm in Rustenburg in Mariskal.
All right, ma'am.
It's a village outside, we are not far from Sun City. We are running helter-skelter with this ESCOM Voltex machine. There's the latest version because when we enter the numbers of the electricity tokens, it says old. And when you go to Matoster, which is the nearest ESCOM center to us, they take our numbers and addresses and tell us the technician will come and bring the machine. Even when you call the ESCOM call center, they give you the number, the reference number, and tell you that the technician is on the way. I've been waiting for this technician since November, Cathy. Can you just help us in the village? Most of us are stuck with expired ESCOM Veltex machines. They are what we call electricity boxes, meter boxes, latest version. If we could just get them, if we have to buy them.
So Mama Kitty, if I understand you correctly, you're stuck with an older version of the smart meters, and you want to have a new meter installed. You want the latest version installed.
Please, because it can take our tokens, ESCOM tokens.
I see.
My common sense
So
would
you're
be,
struggling to recharge your electricity.
It can't get recharged because it says old.
So how long have you been without electricity now?
With me, it's a month.
Yeah, no, that's not okay. All right.
I'm depending on other neighbors who have who have done illegal things, and I don't want to end up doing that.
So when you say you're depending on them, it means that you've asked them to bridge you as well.
I take my things, my meat, I charge my lamps, electricity.
Oh no, Mama Kitty, you're having to do everything next door, effectively.
Yes, and I have 3 tokens, 500 tokens, 100 rand tokens. I just need the machine, nothing else.
Okay. All right. Mama Kitty, I think that's fair. Mama Kitty is out in Rustenburg. So we've got 2 ESCOM issues for us to follow up on coming from the open line today. It's time for your latest news update.
In our top stories, illegal miners from Stilfontein, mostly Mozambicans, and NUMSA strike at Bidvest Container Depot. Good morning. The majority of illegal miners rescued from an abandoned mine in the Northwest Province are Mozambicans. The South African Police Service says of the 246 illegal miners rescued at Shaft 11 in Stilfontein this week, 128 are Mozambicans. They say 80 are from Lesotho, 33 Zimbabweans and 5 South Africans. 78 others were certified dead and their nationalities are not yet known. Police will lower a cage underground this morning to check for any remaining people or bodies. Meanwhile, the African Transformation Movement, ATM, is blaming government's lax immigration controls for exacerbating the Stilfontein mining crisis. Rescue teams managed to bring 246 illegal miners to the surface in the final phase of rescue operations at the abandoned mine. This is said to be the last of the over 1,500 illegal miners who refused to resurface following police intensified efforts to stop illegal mining in August. ATM spokesperson Zamanchona says South Africa has become a haven for looters.
The miners themselves do not have the capacity to actually create the demand. Even if they mine there is still somebody else who must be out there who has the money to actually buy this off them. So individuals who do not want to use legal means to actually acquire, they create the demand. Government does not man the borders. The government does not hold the companies that should do rehabilitation of these mines accountable. This scenario creates an environment where now individuals who are ready to loot, they could come and loot in this country.
The National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, NUMSA, has embarked on an indefinite strike at the Bidvest SA container depot in Durban over the retrenchment of 106 members. The strike follows failed Section 189 consultations between NUMSA and Bidvest, which started soon after the notice was served to the union in September. NUMSA has accused Bidvest of lying about being in financial distress and abusing company processes to advance its profits. NUMSA spokesperson Pagamile Hlubi Majola.
They claimed in their Section 189A notice that the reasons they are doing this is because they're losing revenue, they've lost customers, they're not making as much money because of the impact of the crisis that we had at the ports. However, in our Section 189 engagements with them, it emerged through interrogation that this company is not doing as badly as they claim. In fact, they are gaining new customers. What they're actually doing is they're trying to increase their profits by outsourcing this particular arm of the business.
NUMSA has called on Bidvest to terminate its plans of outsourcing the work of the SACD in Durban and says it remains open to negotiations. Hlubi Majola elaborates.
They have figured out that if they outsource this division, they are going to make a lot more profit. It's going to cost them a lot less because they're not going to have to pay permanent salaries. They're not going to have to pay bonuses. All of the things that we've negotiated as terms of condition in their work, they're not going to have to do. We think it's quite disgraceful that a company can be as selfish as Bidvest to embark on retrenchment purely for profit-making purposes.
The suspects arrested in connection with the mass shooting in Pinard Township in Mpumalanga will appear in court today. The second suspect appeared yesterday at the Nelspruit Magistrates Court in Mbombela. Speaking during a press briefing at the Provincial Police Headquarters, the Acting Provincial Commissioner Zef Mkanazi said the second suspect appeared for allegedly being in possession of 3 illegal firearms. He says the 2 will appear in the Kabokweni Magistrates Court today on charges of murder and attempted murder.
And he was arrested with 3 firearms in his possession, and unfortunately there were no ammunition in those firearms, of which at the moment we are still going around checking as well. Detectives are working very strong on it to find out, to say exactly what happened, why all these 3 firearms are without ammunition. So he was arrested and he appeared in court as well, only for the firearms. He's still going to appear for the murder or for whatever case that is actually placed against him or charge placed against him.
And finally, there's hope the 15-month conflict in Gaza may come to an end after Israel and Hamas agreed to a ceasefire deal and the release of hostages. The ceasefire will come into effect on Sunday. However, the Israeli parliament is still set to vote on the agreement to the deal this morning. The first 6-week phase will see the release of some Israeli hostages in return for Palestinian prisoners and the withdrawal of Israeli troops from some areas. If that phase is successful, there will be negotiations on a permanent end to the fighting. The BBC's Luz Doucet has the details.
There is no guarantee that they will get to the second phase, the third phase, that Gaza will get to the point of having a future. It has to be fought for day in, day out, week in, week out for a very long time to come. There will be pressure. There's now a committee of the Qataris, the Egyptian, the U.S. mediators. They will keep track of any violations. They will try to ensure that this deal is implemented. And of course, the next phase of mediation begins, even as we speak.
Recapping the top story, the majority of illegal miners rescued from an abandoned mine in the northwest province are Mozambicans. The South African Police Service says of the 246 illegal miners rescued at Shaft 11 in Stilfontein this week, 128 are Mozambicans. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
After a 1-0 draw in Morocco during the first 90 minutes, Masandawana and the leader are both hungry to wrap up the group campaign with a win. The South locks horns with the North. This is the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Witness the thrilling flavor of African football. Mamelodi Sundowns FC versus AS Farabat FC on Sunday, 19 January at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Happy New Year, South Africa! SAFM wishes you a prosperous and joyful 2025. As we step into a new year of possibilities, we're here, leading the conversations that move us. Thank you for being part of the SAFM family. Here's to making 2025 a year to remember. Together, SAFM, leading the conversations that move us in 2025.
Celebrate the festive season with SABC Plus. Register on the SABC Plus app or website, and you could win 10 gigs of data per month over the period of 6 months, as well as stand a chance to take home one of 6 Samsung A05s smartphones. Entering is easy. Register on SABC Plus, complete the survey, and simply SMS the keyword SABC Plus and your unique PIN code to 49979. It's that simple. Make this holiday season unforgettable with SABC Plus. Terms and conditions apply. SMSs cost R1.50. Free SMSs do not apply.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Welcome to the second hour of The Talking Point. It's 11 after 10 o'clock. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be getting into our Municipal Watch feature. And today we're focusing on the Rei Nkoyeni municipality. Residents and ratepayers in that particular municipality have come together to try and alleviate some of the service delivery challenges that they're facing. So instead of waiting for the municipality to do what they're supposed to do, they come together, they run some of those services themselves, but they now want compensation from the municipality for that. They've been ongoing strikes in that particular municipality that have affected the state of affairs there. So that's what you can look forward to for the rest of the hour. Before we get into it, your voice notes from the open line.
Morning, Cathy. Can you please try to find someone from the banking industry to help us about these bank charges? Because there are people who are selling things, and then you find that when you swipe, they tell you that I'm going to charge you 10 rand or 5 rand. I don't think this thing is really, it's like daylight robbery, this thing.
Hey, good morning, Cathy. This is Nicky Brown. Hey, Cathy, I don't know this finger pointing thing, when it's going to come to an end. You see, I'm listening to the people now, they're blaming the government for the Stilfontein shenanigan. But I had nothing about those labor brokers that went to Lesotho to recruit people for a job, whereas they knew very well that this is not a job. I'm hearing nothing about the people that they're saying there's some gangs, armed gangs underground, allowing who are denying people access to food and other stuff. And I'm also hearing stories about the labels that is in Afrikaans. How many languages are official in South Africa? Yeah, thanks, Katie.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. Sorry. Sis Cathy, so tell me, if these people who are rescuing the miners underground are saying those dead bodies are unretrievable, is it because maybe they are rotten or what? If they are rotten, can't they use a foil to cover them up and then send them outside? Or are they in a dangerous place where they can't reach? And then what about their family members? How are they gonna know that their family members are dead and they are buried there in that mine? So can you balance me here so that I don't understand if they are saying they are unretrievable? Then what is the solution?
Good day, Cathy, to you and your producers, the loyal listeners of the station. Cathy, my name is Brian. I'm in Neisner in the Garden Route. But yesterday I was so shocked. I came to George and I saw that where the building, there was a collapse of a building last year. There, people are already working now there. There are trucks and everything. People are working there. And we didn't get any response because we were told that the report that was done there was given to Premier Alan Winde. But now, nothing was ever published and no one was ever arrested. But people now are there working again. So I don't know what kind of corruption is this, because we were supposed to be given a report of what happened, who is accountable for that. But no, people are working. I don't know, maybe because it's white people. I don't know. What kind of government is this that we have?
SAFM. Owning a small or medium-sized business takes courage, skill, and determination. The Clientele Legal Business Plan is there to protect, guide, and assist your business in managing the legal risks. Let us handle your labor matters, employment contracts, CCMA referrals, and so much more. Our team of professional lawyers are standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 42770. That's SAFM to 42770. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Abafana West 10 and the Rockets are both looking for a decent spot in the top half. They are all confident they will walk away from the battlefield with jubilance. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch the great passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game. Golden Arrows FC takes on TS Galaxy FC on Saturday, 18 January, live on SABC 1 at 2:30 p.m. and SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
For Municipal Watch today, we're focusing on the Ray Ngoyeni municipality. It's a municipality which was amalgamated in 2016. It included the Hibiscus Coast municipality and the Ezingoleni municipality. So they came together in 2016. That also resulted in the grading of the municipality changing from 4 to 5. However, it also seems that also triggered what residents have been describing as a decline in service delivery, to the extent that residents have now taken it upon themselves to deliver their own services. What do I mean by this? So if there is garbage that hasn't been picked up, The residents come together, they remove it. And I'm sure they'll be able to give us many other examples of how they've had to step in or intervene on behalf of their municipality. Last week, the Traditional Affairs and Cooperative Governance MEC, Tulasizwe Buthelezi, gave the parties that are fighting the municipality 3 weeks to sort the matter out. We understand that part of this has also ended up in the courts. Let me welcome onto the show. This is Salahuddin Musa, who is the administrator at the Albersville Ratepayers Association. Salahuddin, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, listeners.
Yunus Musa is the chair of the Port Shepstone Business Forum. Yunus, good morning.
Good morning. Greeting to yourselves and the rest of the listeners.
Ntombifuthi Mzoto is the regional secretary for the South African Municipal Workers Union at the Ray Nkoyeni municipality. Ntombifuthi, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and your listeners.
And we were, of course, scheduled to also speak to a representative of the municipality. As things stand, we're waiting for them to actually come on. Simon April, who is the municipality's spokesperson, did confirm that they would be joining the conversation. But as things stand, we're still waiting for that representative. So, Simon, please feel free to get your officials on the line to be part of the conversation as the hour unfolds, as you committed to doing, Simon. That's for Simon April, who is the spokesperson for the Ray Nkoyeni municipality. So let me perhaps then begin with the perspective of the residents, which is the ratepayers associations and the different forums in that area. Yunus, let me give you the first opportunity. Firstly, to tell us about the challenges that you have been experiencing and why it is that you as residents have now decided to take matters into your own hands.
Right. So we at the Shepstone Business Forum is an organized formation of local business and to assist and promote business and deal with issues that affect business. We represent a huge number of businesses who have a large workforce. The timing of the strike basically came at a very crucial month of the year, which is December. As many people will know, that December is what most businesses wait for. This strike actually came at the wrong time, I would say, and we had suffered and endured a lot of losses. We also had electricity cuts off. We had lots of waste being thrown on the streets, and it has caused a major impact on the business. I mean, sometimes the business is up to 12 days away without electricity, and it has a huge bearing on, and especially the businesses that thrive on food outlets. So a lot of frozen stock had to be thrown away, and losing thousands of rands. I mean, one small business owner lost over 200,000 rand in stock in the first 3 days to the power outages and the lack of adequate alternative power supply to his refrigeration equipment. This small business, I mean, employs like 8 people. And in season, there's another 6 people whom will employ. So to have not doing any business during that period of time has a huge impact on many businesses. So across the board, the whole of the Port Shepstone Business Forum members, I would say, lost millions of rand during this period. It will take a lot of time to recover this type of loss. The other aspect we must never forget is the tourism. I mean, this is a tourist destination. I mean, I love saying this, that the South Coast is one of the best tourist destinations in South Africa. We suffered enormously over the years, but the tourists, a lot of them cancel their accommodation, and if you ask businesses, it's not like they improved in their turnover or in their profit. So sorry, you don't mind me talking. The Purchase and Business Forum, what have we done to assist? We assisted in helping restore electricity on day 4 in consultation with the municipality, where we stepped in and got power back to the most affected areas. We also provided our own electricians to assist in repairs to the damaged cables. And by the way, we were doing this working at night, and providing our own security as well. We also engage with the unions to explore ways to minimize the impact of the strike, and to urge them not to damage the infrastructure. We had good meetings with the union. We also assisted and engaged with both parties, the unions and the municipality. I must say that the cleanup of the CBD was done by the ratepayers, where Salahuddin and the Chetty were instrument in making sure that the town stayed clean. We also believe that the way forward is that the management of the RMN and the workers must accept jointly responsibility for the losses, and also losses of jobs, because during December a lot of casual labor is employed.
All
and
right.
Lastly, I want to say the act of the sabotage, the police must act on this, and this must not happen again. You know, in certain things, we call it the red line. And I don't think, while we sympathize with the workers, we do, there is a red line that should not be crossed.
All right. Eunice?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eunice, thank you for that roundup. I think you've said a mouthful there in terms of giving us a picture of what has gone wrong, and also how you as a business forum have had to step in to assist the municipality. Salahuddin, let me give you a chance. You, of course, are the administrator of the Albersville Ratepayers Association. Speak to me from your point of view. Which services would you say that you have been mostly affected by, and have you, like the business forum, also have had to step in?
Yeah, once again, good morning, listeners. Yeah, as I speak, in fact, I am speaking now not only on behalf of Albersville Ratepayers Association, but all the residents association, right from Port Edward to Heberdean, that forms part of the Rain-Conning municipalities. Yeah, as my brother, Mr. Yunus Musa has mentioned, a lot of the impact is similar onto the residents as well. We have also been affected by the electrical outage. And if I may just give you a little bit more detail on the electricity issue, a lot was actually caused by some members of the union who went and sabotaged the electrical cables, or from the substation putting things off, damaging the cables. And as a result, the community, the residents, went through a lot of hardships. And again, like the business forum, a lot of people, were stocking up. Christmas was around the corner. People had bought their stuff and, stocked up. Unfortunately, most of the residents who can ill afford any extra cost had ended up losing their food. All the perishables they were bought had to be literally thrown away. And I know so because a lot of people had called me and inquired as what they can do about this. Furthermore, we have old age homes. For example, in the place called, just off CBD, we have a place in Beria, and there's a place called Flower Foundation. And we have everybody there is a pensioner, and they depend only on the pensions to go through the whole month. And they were also hard hit. They were left with no food, no electricity, and were actually left to fend for themselves, as was everybody else. And we had no choice as a community. Community had to get together, help the people who are in need. At the same time, try and beg and plead the municipality to send people to, restore power. Most of the times they couldn't do so because the guys who were also willing to come do the work were intimidated. And as a fear for their lives, they couldn't come back. Eventually, some power was restored, though it took, some of the places took 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and as far as even 12 days, almost 2 weeks in some places. But yeah, the Residents Association, along with Mr. Selvan Chetty, who's been at the forefront of trying to restore and get this thing organized, or get everybody together, get the unions together, get the municipality together to try and resolve this issue. So Mr. Chetty and all the Residents Associations worked together tirelessly deep into early hours of the morning, collecting refuse from each and every area. For example, if I may just say, we have done this repeatedly almost every other week. I mean, financially, we also have trained. We cannot continue to do so every week. However, we in Albersville, what we're doing is every 2 weeks, we hire trucks, we hire people, laborers, and we try and gather refuse from each and every home, door to door, and we've done so. For example, last Saturday, we hired 3 trucks. We hired about 10, 12 people and collected refuse ourselves. We gather it to one place. Throughout the day, we do so. And then later at night, from that place, we hire trucks again and get it across to the dump site. We end up finishing at something like about 1:30 in the morning, something that we had started at 6 in the morning.
Sure. Salahuddin,
Now,
thank you for that explanation. I think you've also painted quite a picture of what exactly it is that residents have been going through over the last couple of weeks in trying to mitigate the effect of the services that have ground to a halt in the Rheingonyeni municipality. When we continue, I'll give then the official from SAMWU to speak about the protest, and then we'll also bring in your input. If you are in that area, if you're a resident in that area, call us, tell us about what has been happening there, and also what are the kind of questions that you then want the municipality to answer right now. For now, it's 10:30, time for your latest news headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. In the news headlines on SAFM, I am Ondalambana, and a very good morning. Police have confirmed that a total of 1,907 illegal miners have resurfaced from the Stilfontein mine in the northwest since the beginning of its operation in August. Advocacy group Section 27 has called on government to build more schools in an effort to resolve learner placement issues. This as many Gauteng parents queue at education district offices hoping to secure school placements for their children. And winds have eased across Southern California in the U.S., giving exhausted fire crews some respite as they continue their efforts to contain devastating firestorms in Los Angeles. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 18 rand 77 to the dollar, 22 rand 93 to the pound, and 19 rand 32 to the euro. Markets in Asia were green across the board at the closing bell. The JC mainly higher in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are in positive terrain. Gold is trading at $2,699, platinum $946 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $82.29 a barrel.
I feel great, I feel nice. Kasha, what's the score? We're coiling on the highest, the summer level. What's the score? It's the Nandi sessions with Mr. Showdem. It's the fa of live music. It's the go on SABC Plus. Catch the JR Feel Good sessions at 6 Fridays only on SABC 1. Mzansi for sure.
The Oranges boys want to wrap up their group campaign on a winning note.
while Stellies want to deliver a masterclass performance to triumph away from home. This is the Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup. Experience the joy of African football. RSB Pekana FC versus Stellenbosch FC on Sunday, 19 January at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
You're listening to The Talking Point. It's Municipal Watch, and of course we're focusing on the Rei Nkonyeni municipality for this morning. You've already heard stories of how the business forum, the local business forum in the area, and the Ratepayers Association have had to step in when it comes to some of the services that are no longer available in the municipality as a result of a strike. So we're talking here, you heard about the collection of refuse and rubbish, the restoration of electricity in that area, and how residents have had to work on things, but also the allegation that the striking workers are also responsible for damaging part of the infrastructure. So representing the Ratepayers Association is Salhuddin Musa. Representing the Business Forum is Yunus Musa. I want to bring onto the show Ntombifuthi Mzoto, who is with the South African Municipal Workers Union. She's the regional secretary in that particular municipality. Ntombifuthi, you've been listening to what Salhuddin and Yunus have had to say about the strike. Firstly, tell us, why are your members in the municipality on strike, and also why did they choose what they know to be a busy period in a municipality that thrives on tourism to actually go on protest?
Good morning, Cathy. And good morning to the Business Forum members as well as to the listeners. Yes, I've listened to both members. As South African Municipal Workers Union, as you have explained earlier, the history of where we're coming from, it is because on the 18th of September, we received an award after a dispute between us as the employees and the employer of Grade 5 municipality, whereby senior managers as well as councillors has been graded to Grade 5 salaries. So that means our municipality is on Grade 5 after the amalgamation of the two municipalities. Because the employer said they cannot put us on Grade 5, they are waiting to have the documents to give them an authority to do so. It is then when we approach the bargaining council to follow the correct processes. It is important for me to explain that in all the processes we have been following, the employer was aware of that up until we received the arbitration award, which is saying in the 1st of October, we must be on Grade 5. Then by the 31st of October 2024, we must receive a compensation of 6 months. As per, we put our matter in the bargaining council as unfair labor practice, since we are in one organization and we need to be categorized, or any institution it cannot have a different grade. It was therefore the municipality did not say anything to us after receiving an award. So we said we are not going to rush them because of an understanding that we've been together in this. Because when we went to bargaining council, there were parts of the processes, so they are aware of what is going on. We are made to believe that they are still sorting themselves out, so we'll wait for them up until the 22nd of October, whereby the employer called us to say they cannot be able to implement the award. Remember, it was 2 days before we get paid. Then come the 25th, the employees get up to say they need to know for themselves to say, why are they not receiving their grade 5 salaries as per the award? Then the Troika promised us that our matter is on the agenda for the 29th of October, where the council will deliberate on the matter. We can come back on the 29th to hear what they've resolved about. We went back to work as normal. Then on the 29th, we went to our head office where we waited as employees. After their council, we were addressed by the deputy mayor, the speaker, the chief whip, and the municipal manager to say they have agreed that they will pay us on grade 5, and we'll have to discuss the payment plan, meaning the union and the administration will have to deliberate on the matter. As soon as they finished their presentation, we went inside for a meeting and we were asked to wait for 2 to 3 days while they are doing their calculations. And in their presentation, they said we will be paid soon. And then after 3 days, on the 30th, then we received that the municipality is no longer going to be able to pay. They put the matter at the labor court for a review. Then we were not happy about that because they did not tell us that that is their plan. After the council have resolved that we must be paid and the payment plan will be made. Then to us soon, with our own interpretation, then we are waiting for that soon. In such a manner that we are willing, opening our arms to discuss the matter.
So, Ntombi Futhi, not to rush you, but perhaps to get to where things are today. So after the back and forth and the commitments to upgrade the salary scales of workers and yet not have that happen, when did you begin your strike?
Okay. As the workers, we've been waiting. We note that some of the service deliveries put into a stoppage. We note that, but according to us, we are waiting for our employer to address us when they will be able to pay us, because the matter is, at this point in time, is a right to us.
Yes. When did you start your strike, Ntombi?
Okay, after the employer has been so adamant in November, so if I can't get the call, it was in November, whereby the employer was adamant to discuss the matter with us, and we've been back and forth. There's certain meetings that have been planned. We go to the meetings and we are told that they are not available.
So you've been on strike since November?
I'm not saying that we've been on strike, but certain services have not yet been rendered since the workers have been waiting for the employer to address them on their rights.
When did you stop rendering those services in Ntombi? It's not a complicated question.
As I'm saying, Cathy, that it was around November.
Around November, which services did you stop?
Okay, services like refuse, in particular, because that is the part and the area that we are so sympathizing with the communities, because before you become a worker, you are a citizen as well. So therefore, for that, we are sympathizing with the community as we are a community as well. But at the same time, our right has been infringed.
Okay.
And the employer is promising us,
Ntombi,
and we've been waiting for that.
Ntombi, we started off this conversation with you giving an opportunity to state the position of workers and what has led to this moment. So for now, I'm going to ask you to please try and just answer the questions I'm asking you. Which services have you stopped rendering? You started off by saying refuse. What else?
We stopped most of the services, like as we are awaiting the refuse and the rates collection, electricity, motor licensing.
Okay, so basically these are all essential services, right, that municipalities would offer. You have heard firsthand from residents the impact that this is having on their lives. At this point, I think more than you being on strike is the concern raised by the Business Forum and the Ratepayers Association, where they're accusing some workers of deliberately sabotaging and destroying infrastructure so that the impact of the strike can be more severe than it is. And these would be your members that are being accused of doing all of this.
Okay, Cathy. As South African Municipal Workers Union has always addressed our staff not to act off any violence or criminal activities. Therefore, we do not condone, and we've never condoned those activities that have taken place, and we comply with the law for apprehension of any culprits. We as SAMU are law enforcement, are law-abiding organization or citizen, and therefore, as per the reports that we've received, it didn't clearly state that it was a purely sabotage but we condone anything. We don't condone anything that has to do with that. As we have met with the Business Forum as well and explained to them and how can we try to assist in resolving on all other matters that are affecting all of us in this manner.
So Ntombi Futhi, have your members been getting paid? Did you receive your November salaries?
Yes, we did. Did
you receive your December salaries?
Yes, we did.
Now, in as much as the dispute is over, the additional that you would need to receive, right, the balance of that, because the municipality has been upgraded, surely there should be some level of services that you're rendering. A complete stoppage in this instance, is that really justified? Because I'm saying that you're still getting paid. Yes, you're not getting paid what you believe you should be earning due to the grading of the municipality, but you're still getting paid, and yet you're not rendering any services.
So according to us, as I said earlier on, that we are not on strike, as we are saying that we are waiting for our employer to respond to our rights.
Yes, but you also detailed, Ntombi Futhi, you also detailed the number of services that you've stopped. You said refuse, rates and taxes collection, licensing is closed, electricity. So you're basically not rendering essential services, yet you have been receiving your salaries. Granted, it's not what you want to be receiving, but you are being paid.
Of which, Cathy, as far as where we are standing, it shows that we are not on strike, and as well as not all employees are on essential services, because that it depends on the contract that you are signing with the municipality.
You might not be calling it a strike, but the fact that you've withdrawn your labor, it makes it a strike.
That is your opinion, Cathy, and I cannot stand on that opinion you are saying. As I'm explaining that not everyone that is in essential services within the organization, and what the right that we are waiting for, it affects all the employees of the municipality, not only some employees or members.
All right. We're going to continue with this conversation in a moment. I'm also going to bring in more voices of residents in the area to talk about how they're being affected by this. It's a pity because the municipality, it seems at this stage, has decided now not to come and be part of the conversation despite their commitment to doing so. We'll take a quick break. I'm back with more.
What you're about to hear is not an email from Standard Bank. Good day, Dave. You haven't updated your details, so your account will soon be blocked. Please confirm your card number, bank PIN, card CVV number by clicking the link below. What? Don't fall for it. Standard Bank will never ask for your banking details in an email. Visit our help center on the banking app to learn more, or call our fraud line on 0800 222 050. Another lesson to hashtag beat the scam. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The Bees want to be all over the pitch and keep the 3 points on home ground.
It could be 5 to Brentford. There's wishes in here. Brentford have got 5 goals at St Mary's.
Meanwhile, the Reds want to emphasize that they will never walk alone, but with victory.
Lovely ball. Gakpo. Goal! Brilliant as well, as ever, from Cody Gakpo.
This is the Premier League, striving for excellence. Experience the glittering encounter between Brentford FC and Liverpool FC on Saturday, 18 January at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
You're listening to Municipal Watch. Our focus this morning, the Rey Nkoyeni municipality. You've heard then some of the difficulties there. Workers dissatisfied with the fact that their salaries have not been upgraded from a grade 4 to grade 5 salary scale. So they've withdrawn their services. Some who says that they are not on strike, but effectively, if you're not providing services, including refuse removal, collection of rates and taxes, electricity, licensing, then you are on a strike. Let's just call it what it is. Ratepayers associations, business forums have come in to take over some of these services. The strike has been taking place since sometime in mid-November, it appears. Although the workers have been paid, they received their November and December salaries, they have not been providing those services. Jonathan, you are calling us from the South Coast. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Cathy, and to the listeners. Cathy, the old proverb we know about that says when two elephants fight, the grass gets damaged. Now, in this instance, the parallel is unfortunately civil society, business, and communities get targeted. So to the unions, whilst we empathize with your cause, I think your attack is having the incorrect impact when you focus the negativities in terms of withdrawing services that impact communities. You should be tackling the leadership that took the decisions that are annoying you. Now, Cathy, my opinion is that the political leadership and the management of the Ray and Konyeni municipality in 2016 need to be held accountable. Did they do the correct financial viability when they accepted the merger? Number one. Number two, there's clearly conflicts of interest because management and the political leadership will get more bucks in the pockets if they grade increases from 4 to 5. But the financial viability, which is covered by the ratepayers, is fundamental in taking on that municipality, which at that time was identified as having serious irregular transaction and activities. Hence, the municipal manager at that time was dismissed. Against all that background, the leadership found it fit to agree to the amalgamation. Now, business operates very differently. Businesses will look at the viability of taking on a subsidiary or the acquisition of a new entity based on the numbers. And if it's a dead duck, so to speak, you wouldn't take it on. But I'm not saying that Izungulweni is a dead duck, please. I'm just using that as an analogy. So how does one take a decision when there's conflicts of interest? Now, I want to draw a different parallel in the education system, where if a school is regraded from, say, a P2 to a P3, the only impact that happens on the regrading is that the principal gets a higher salary and is allowed additional staff, maybe a second secretary, or is allowed more heads of departments. But I come to the fundamental point that I think is anomalous in the entire process. Why should a waste picker or a refuse removal individual in Ray and Konyeni earn a different salary from the waste picker in Izungulweni or a waste picker in eThekwini?
Okay.
Your job description is the same. Now, quickly, Cathy, now in education, a teacher at level 1 with the same level of service and qualifications earns the same no matter where you are, irrespective of the grading of the school.
All right,
so
Jonathan?
I think there's a fundamental problem out there. Thank you.
Look, Jonathan is raising a broader issue around the grading of municipalities and how that process actually takes place, which is absolutely a conversation that can be had. Lindo, you are in Port Shepstone. Good morning.
I'd like to firstly state that I'm very disappointed with the leadership and management of Ray Konyeni for not coming to the show to state their side of the story. But I'm not surprised, as it's indicative of the kind of leadership we have been subjected to as ratepayers in this municipality. Secondly, I think we must welcome the intervention of the MEC, because he has really just come around and reminded the municipality leadership of their role in resolving this issue and given them an opportunity to take a decision that will sort this whole mess up. It's very disappointing, Cathy, that somebody took a decision that has cost us millions. I think Eunice there and the Business Forum and the rest of the ratepayers associations must quantify in rand and cents how much this decision by an individual or a group of individuals has cost the ratepayers of Ray Konyeni. And those individuals must be held accountable, because I think we can't have a situation where this process is then dealt with and then somebody who took this decision is then all of a sudden redeployed elsewhere or given another cushy position when there's been no consequence management and accountability on the cost that the municipality has gone through by a decision that was taken by somebody. So whoever it is, whether it's political leadership, whether it's management, but if it's management, council must take a decision to hold somebody accountable, whether it's their pensions or whatever it is, but the municipality must hold somebody accountable for this entire mess, because somebody took a decision that has cost the ratepayers millions. And
okay.
Yeah, thank you, Cathy.
All right, Lindo, thank you for that for that view there. Salvan Chetty, you're the Deputy Board Chair for the CPF in the Ugu District. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and greetings to your members. I think you've heard, quite a bit from all our role players and stakeholders. From the side of the policing and the community policing sector, our entire lives were disrupted over the period. We found ourselves engaging, basically to help prevent the escalation of the crisis. And we've done this in many ways in support of the South African Police Services to ensure that whilst the right to strike is there and we respect that, we also have to ensure that escalation in terms of damage to state infrastructure, disruptions in terms of the littering in the town and so on is dealt with. And of course, for the CPF, with the support of the police, we've been protecting the infrastructure, the electrical infrastructure of the town, so that once we got the electricity back online for most of the areas, we had to now protect it to prevent any tampering with. And let me say this, that whilst allegations are made that some members are the ones interfering with the infrastructure, there are also opportunists who use this the strike and the struggle of workers for better pay or for their rights for other agendas that they might have. And I made this clear when the MEC came down, and there's political agendas here as well. Also, I realized that I just heard from the previous speaker that the municipality is not present in this panel, and I think that's unfortunate. But I'm just also hearing that your station might have contacted the communications manager, and that manager is also on strike. So it then goes to show that if he was contacted, he probably will not have made contact with this municipality. I'm just guessing. So that is the level and the depth to which the strike, it's penetrated to the level of management. So just about everybody in the municipal critical infrastructure, the critical management areas is not there. Those who actually implement. And so as a CPF, we've offered our services together with Business Forum and others to engage both the municipality and the unions, and we've had good engagements. We probably met with the unions 3 times. We met with the municipality at least 3 times. But outside of the formal meetings, we've had about 8 or 9 on either side. And we've made concrete proposals to the municipality and to the unions to say, we think this could help. We're putting proposals to say, look, pay the workers, right? Pay the workers an agreed amount, say 2 months of salary, and then let both parties take the matter to court. And should the unions lose, then they be given a period of time to pay back that amount of money, because as a result of negligence, in my view, on the part of the municipality, you clearly they could have done things differently.
Okay,
workers were promised. Yes.
Salvan, we're going to have to leave it there. Salvan Chetty is with the CPF in the Ugu district. So you've heard then just what the state of affairs in that municipality is. They have 3 weeks to try and get it together. We will be following up on the story.
And
the top stories, close to 2,000 illegal miners resurfaced so far in Stilfontein, and residents battle to get clean water in Komani. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good morning. Police have confirmed that a total of 1,907 illegal miners have resurfaced from the Stilfontein mine in the northwest since the beginning of its operations in August. This week, police conducted its final phase of its rescue operations at the mine with a total of 2,246 illegal miners that have resurfaced and 78 bodies retrieved. The SAP has intensified its Vala Umgodi operations following an increase in illicit mining activity at abandoned mine shafts in the province. SAPS national spokesperson Athlenda Mate.
Margaret Shaft was 1437 plus the additional 7 that have resurfaced in the last 2 days. We have Baffles 11 Shaft 365, Baffles 10 103. In terms of nationalities, we have Mozambicans 1,125 that have been arrested, Zimbabweans 465, Lesotho nationals 200, South Africans 26, Malawians 1, Congolese 1.
Advocacy group Section 27 has called on government to build more schools in an effort to resolve learner placement issues. This as many Gauteng parents queue at education district offices hoping to secure school placements for their children. Since the inception of the online school registration system in 2016, learner placements have been a major point of concern as many end up without a school in the new year despite having applied before the deadline. Senior attorney at Section 27's Education Rights Unit, Damichelle Petherbridge.
I mean, we know many learners have been successfully placed, but the kind of reports that we're seeing at the moment is that parents are not even getting placed in schools that they had selected when applying on the online GDE system. And what this is telling us is that schools have filled up extremely quickly. We have very long waiting lists. We know that there are instances of severe overcrowding in schools. I think the solution here is that we need more schools. And I know that's an incredibly big ask, but I really think it will take drastic measures to try and solve this ultimately.
City of Tshwane Mayor Nasipi Moya and her mayoral committee are expected to visit the Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant this morning. This comes just days after her visit to Hammanskraal last week, where she declared that the water being supplied by the Magalies Klipdrift water treatment plant to parts of the township was now safe to drink. Nonhlanhla Chingila has more.
The Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant is currently being upgraded. It's expected that once the project is complete, it will augment the provision of water, including to Hammanskraal, where more than 30 people died in 2023 following a cholera outbreak. The Rooiwal project has been plagued by allegations of corruption and mismanagement, which saw the Special Investigation Unit being roped in to probe the irregularities. Meanwhile, the multi-phased Magalies Water Klipdrift project is scheduled for completion by mid-2025. It is hoped that as each phase is finished, additional areas in Hammanskraal will gain access to clean drinking water. Nonhlanhla Chingila for SABC News, Pretoria.
Residents from Komani in the Eastern Cape say they have been struggling to access clean water since November last year. Community leader Solomz Nkwenja claims that the water shortage is intentionally caused and has caused the municipality of providing contaminated water. Nkwenja says this has led to residents falling sick.
We see it as a man-made project or crisis because the reason why this thing, if it's a disaster, why is not declared? Why is it not declared so? But the only thing that we saw are the trucks carrying green tanks running up and down the location, dishing out water to the community. And that is a danger to our health because so many people went to hospitals and the doctors complaining about vomiting and diarrhea.
The mayoral committee member for water services in the Enoch Mgijima municipality, Bonge Ganobuntu, refutes the allegations of providing contaminated water. He maintains that the water quality is regularly tested.
We refute claims that water distributed with water tankers is unsafe for human consumption. As our water is treated and tested every 2 hours, we are assuring the communities of the quality of water provided by the water trucks. products, as the water catered to the communities is drawn from purified municipal sources, which is Eco-Money and its Omo treatment works. As the municipality, we are also committed to ensure a sustainable water service provision in the area.
Winds have eased across Southern California and the U.S., giving exhausted fire crews some respite as they continue their efforts to contain devastating firestorms in Los Angeles. Forecasters say a breeze from the ocean will also bring moisture in the coming days. The fires, which began more than a week ago, have killed at least 25 people and left large areas of the city in ruins. James White is an incident meteorologist for the Eaton fire, one of the two worst wildfires.
Thankfully, the weather that we've actually observed has been all good news. We're all past the highest risk periods of that red flag warning. Those Santa Ana winds have been gradually weakening through today, and they're going to continue weakening through tomorrow. We're going to remain very dry through Thursday. That, too, is going to start easing Friday into the weekend. So we're going to have, by far, the best overnight recoveries that we've seen on this fire so far. The humidity is going to rise up at night.
Recapping the top story, police have confirmed that a total of 1,907 illegal miners have resurfaced from the Stilfontein mine in the northwest since the beginning of its operations in August. I am Wandilambana for SFM News Headlines at 11:30.
The Bees want to be all over the pitch and keep the 3 points on home ground.
It could be 5 to Brentford. There's Wishers in here. Brentford have got 5 goals at St Mary's.
Meanwhile, the Reds want to emphasize that they will never walk alone, but with victory.
Lovely ball. Gakpo. Goal! Brilliant as well, as ever, from Cody Gakpo.
This is the Premier League, striving for excellence. Experience the glittering encounter between Brentford FC and Liverpool FC on Saturday, 18 January at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Happy New Year, South Africa! SAFM wishes you a prosperous and joyful 2025. As we step into a new year of possibilities, we're here, leading the conversations that move us. Thank you for being part of the SAFM family. Here's to making 2025 a year to remember. Together, SAFM, leading the conversations that move us in 2025.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The SAFM playwriting competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. It's 11 after 11 o'clock. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana with you until midday. Perhaps just to recap on our Municipal Watch feature, focusing on the Ray Ngoyeni municipality. We absolutely will be revisiting that municipality in about 3 weeks' time to get a sense of what then is the resolution of the current standoff that is taking place between the municipality and workers that is having such a significant impact on residents and on services there, because we absolutely need accountability from all sides. Yes, workers, are demanding this increase, rightfully so, because their municipality has been upgraded. But within the same breath, residents are paying for services, and they deserve to have those services too. But the municipality also can't just decide that it is going to absolve itself of needing to show leadership, also of needing to be accountable in a moment such as this. So for the officials, it makes sense now that we understand what is happening. The officials probably didn't come on the show because they too are on strike. So they would have been breaking their strike protocol. I hope that's not the case. And even if that is the case, surely coming on would mean that they haven't completely absolved themselves of their responsibility, right? Residents deserve answers whether or not there is a strike. And if there is a strike, then the municipality must come out and say it. They must come out and tell residents exactly what they can expect so that people can plan their lives and can figure out what to do. Of course, kudos to all of the business forums and ratepayers that have stepped in, but really it should not have to go to those extreme levels. So we will keep a close eye on that and see how developments there are unfolding. Well, for the final hour of the show, we're going to be focusing on universities and in particular looking at student fees. We know that so many students that are enrolling in institutions of higher learning are going to be raising the issue of funds. We know NSFAS, of course, has expanded its pool to increase the number of students that it is able to offer bursaries or scholarships to, at least while they study. And once they've completed their studies, they then have the duty of paying back those funds. It's never nice to have to pay NSFAS back, but the opportunity that you're giving is for somebody else in your position to be able to do what you did, that they too are able to study. You see, if you have groups of or generations of students that are going through the NSFAS funding cycle but that never pay it back, it means that there are people then who simply are not going to be able to access the opportunity because there isn't an endless pool of money, bottomless pool of money that these funds are coming from. But there's also been a question raised over the years about the role of these institutions themselves. What role should they be playing when it comes to the conversation around funding? And how can they be coming up with their own funding methods? Well, Wits University's SRC is introducing a way that deserving students can complete their studies through the Kuboya Tudo SRC Legacy Fund, which they are proposing as one of the solutions to look at. Jerome September is the Dean of Student Affairs at Wits University. He joins me on the line. Jerome, good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning.
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners. Thank you for having me.
In many ways, Wits University almost became the epicenter, right, of the struggle for no fees or for fees in institutions of higher learning to fall. So no surprise then that we're speaking to you this morning about the ways in which institutions of higher learning can be looking at alternative means of funding their students, who we know you also get heartbroken about when they can't pursue their education because they don't have enough money. Because some of them are incredibly talented students who unfortunately have not been able to secure bursaries for whatever reasons, but their parents simply can't afford to pay the fees.
No, absolutely, Cathy. It is heartbreaking often to see how well our young people are doing and that an issue like fees become a barrier. This is why, for us, it has been important over the last few years to almost double our own efforts to try and secure funding to get bursaries and sponsorships and so on in, so that we are able to assist as many students as we possibly can. And so we actually welcome this initiative from the SRC. You may know that they have been doing this for a number of years now, but I think the big difference this year is that there is this idea of legacy. So how do we assist now, but how do we also begin to think about, from the student point of view at least, about the future and leave a legacy in terms of getting funders on board that commit beyond 1 year.
Why is this conversation such a complex one for institutions of higher learning? Because we know universities make their money off the fees they charge, but they also get subsidies from the Department of Higher Education, so especially for your public institutions. So why is the question of who should fund what such a hot potato for institutions of higher learning?
Because at the moment, institutions are funded in terms of their operations and what they're able to do 3 different ways. So the one is, of course, through the state and through the state subsidy, and that doesn't always keep up with inflation. The second area is, of course, then through student fees, and then there's the area that we call the so-called third stream income, where it is about research contracts, it is about donations, funding, and so on. And it's complex because for the total budget to be made up, unfortunately, our institutions in this country is still heavily dependent on the student fee component. The state subsidy certainly isn't at a level where it is able to fully fund the running of a university, and the third stream income is unfortunately also not. So we are still in a setup where the student fees is an important part of that sustainability conversation.
Because this conversation, Jerome, has been taking place for a number of years, when you think about the call that was placed on institutions of higher learning by students to come up with alternative means and ways of funding, what would you say were some of the conversations that perhaps opened up institutions of higher learning to? And where has it evolved to today? So where are we today with that conversation?
Well, I think this is a national conversation. And so what has happened, of course, is that NSFAS through the state has expanded its offering. And so those who with a family income of up to 350,000 Rand, they are fully funded by NSFAS, and so by the state. And that, of course, and so, by the way, they don't have to pay that back. That's a grant that the state gives, and it covers their fees, their accommodation, books, and so on. And that's from the state. But that's up to 350,000. Then, of course, last year the state introduced also a limited loan scheme through NSFAS for those students who fall just outside of that. Now, for many of us, and certainly for vets, the challenge is the so-called missing middle. And I think that's where the conversation has evolved to, and that's where the conversation is at today. The missing middle being that student who's just outside the 350,000 Rand mark in terms of family income, but probably up to about 650,000 Rand family income. And that's really the group of students where there is a challenge, because they kind of too rich to get NSFAS, but not quite enough income to be able to afford it. So that's where the conversation is at. And at the national level, I know that through the department, there are now also conversations that hopefully this year will unfold around what the strategies, what the plans are around that cohort of students. And I believe that through the ministry that this year some big decisions will be made around that cohort of students. But that's really where a big part of the challenge sits. It's the so-called missing middle. So from a vet point of view at least, we have, of course, launched a number of fundraising campaigns you may know that our centenary program was centered around fundraising, and we are in the process of setting up an endowment fund, and so many of our funds are going into that to make sure that over time we have the kind of endowment where we would be able to, as an institution, in a sustainable way, provide ongoing support.
When it comes to the steps that institutions, again, of higher learning can take, Jerome, one just thinks about some of the students that you've mentioned who are part of the missing middle, some of them doing really well, A students, maybe even sometimes qualifying for some of the awards that are linked to certain performances in certain subjects, but you find that that's still not enough to cover the entire tuition fees. Do you think that an institution like WITS is any closer to making even more concessions for students like that?
Well, what we've got is, so at the starting point, what we do have is, of course, a Vice-Chancellor's scholarship for our top performers. So those students will get a full scholarship, and that will carry them through their full degree. What we've now also introduced from this year is that if you pay your fees up front, you will get a 5% discount on the fee, and that is to kind of try and encourage and to kind of also try and assist people who might have some of the means to be able to pay. Then in terms of registration, of course, unlike many other places, as a student, you can at the moment at WITS, if you do not have historic debt, you can postpone your first payment. So there isn't the barrier at registration, if you don't have historic debt, to registration. You can postpone that first payment and pay it at a later date. It will allow you to then register. If you owe less than 10,000 Rand, you are also able to register if this is not 10,000 on your historic debt. We then have a fund, which we call the Hardship Fund, where we are making a deliberate effort to assist those students who owe more than the 10,000 Rand to pay 50% of their debt. So in the WITS context, if you pay 50% of your historic debt at registration, you are able to register. So this fund is set up to assist those students who are unable to pay that 50% to help them to pay that. Then, of course, we've announced over the last couple of months a number of scholarships where we've gone into partnerships with private partners to be able to provide scholarships more so, particularly for the high-flying students, so that we are able to assist them as best as we can. So we have a number of these initiatives in place, and of course for our Vice-Chancellor, this is top of his agenda. But this is where, again, just that need is so big. So just to address the need, this is why it is so important that when the students themselves come on board through the SRC, that both the university and broader society try and assist as best as we possibly can.
You know, as you're speaking, Jerome, you're literally bringing me to my next point, because these are all efforts that should be welcomed and celebrated, right? And yet at the same time, they seem to not be making a significant enough impact. So what is it really? And you as institutions of higher learning would have the kind of insights that can help us as the rest of society understand what is really behind this problem. What is driving this issue of the inaccessibility of institutions of higher learning? Why is it so difficult still for many people to be able to access the education?
Well, there are, of course, a number of factors, right? So the first, of course, is the academic, but we know that once the students have met the academic requirements, they are in. I mean, we've now got what? We've got a record number of bachelor passes. The sad reality is that we've got limited places. So at a place like WITS, where over 100,000 students have applied, to come into Wits, we only, unfortunately, have space for about 6,000 first years. Now, that's a travesty, right? But that's the reality. So on the one hand, we have limited spaces. And although our matriculants are doing exceptionally well, unfortunately, we don't have enough spaces. The second issue is then around, as a society, as a country, as higher education, as government, all of us, how we resolve the funding issues in a sustainable way going forward. Because it is about the rands and cents. And so on the one hand, it's about encouraging everyone who's able to pay, and then zooming in on those young people who are not able to pay. And then it is about us leaving our institutional comfort zones and coming together really as a sector with government, all of us, to try and resolve particularly the missing middle issue. Now, as I said earlier, the Minister, I believe that through the department, that this year that there will be significant work done in this particular space.
Jerome, listening to those numbers is absolutely staggering. Over 100,000 applications just for first year alone?
Just for first year alone. At first, and in fact, the exact number is 118,000 applications for 6,000 places.
And how many of them would you say qualify?
Well, that unfortunately I don't have a sense of. But if you look at how well young people have done, particularly those cohorts, then I would imagine that probably half, majority, I would in fact guess, probably qualifies at the baseline level to come in.
And the reality is that most people don't apply to an institution of higher learning until they've got a pretty good basis of the fact that they meet the basic criteria.
Absolutely.
So would you say that it's become a lot more competitive for young people to enter institutions of higher learning?
It has become a lot more competitive. The numbers are staggering. As I've just said, we unfortunately don't have capacity beyond what we've got. But it also means that we have to, as a society, think hard about the other pathways that we can potentially provide young people. So thinking about the TVET sector, thinking about colleges, thinking about what's the kind of skills that young people leave the schooling environment with, so that they are perhaps able to access other opportunities, whether it's job opportunities or starting kind of businesses. So what is that matric like, and what do they actually leave the schooling sector with, so that they have other pathways beyond the university?
We're going to continue the conversation with Jerome September. He's the Dean of Student Affairs at Wits University. Yeah, I'm still stuck on that number, hey? 118,000 applications, only 6,000 spots available. What happens to the 112 others who are unsuccessful? And by the way, multiply similar figures across all our institutions, right? Across our institutions, because they can only take in so much. Now, that's absolutely something we need to think about as a society, as Jerome was saying. What happens then for the rest that don't get accepted? It's 11:30, time for your latest news headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. In the news headlines, police have confirmed that a cage has been lowered underground at Shaft 11 in Stelfontein in Northwest to verify reports by community volunteers that there are no illegal miners remaining underground. There's growing anger and frustration among parents queuing outside the Ekurhuleni North District Office in Benoni for their children to be placed in schools. And Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Ottawa will consider all possible countermeasures if Donald Trump implements his threat to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian imports. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
I feel great, I feel nice. Also, what's the goal with coiling on the highest, the summer level? What are we? Generations the legacy. Kabisi's call for Kumo's side eye. That quasha of the drama context. It's Georgie Christmas vibes. It's the core on SABC Plus. Don't miss Generations The Legacy at 8 weekdays on SABC 1. Mzansi for sure.
After a 0-0 draw at Orlando in December, the Northern and Southern African Giants meet again. The Red Devils want to create a happy mood for their fans, but the Buccaneers want to destroy the Pyramids by collecting maximum points. This is the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Witness the incredible flavor of African football. Al Ahly Sporting Club versus Orlando Pirates FC on Saturday, 18 January at 6 p.m. live on SABC2. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
To all our esteemed educators, a warm welcome back to school for the year 2025 calendar year. SACE, your professional regulatory body, wishes you an incredible and successful year ahead. Thank you for achieving quality, outstanding 2024 results across all school grades. Continue to inspire a credible and agile teaching profession in and outside your school environment. Your worth and dignity are valued.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
We continue the conversation on the Talking Point. We are looking at funding in institutions of higher learning and the ways in which universities then are also trying to come up with alternative means of helping to fund some of their students. Jerome September is the Dean of Student Affairs at Wits University. Jerome, we've got a message here from one of your students who says, last year I was one of the beneficiaries of the bursary known as the Postgraduate Merit Award, PMA at Wits. I was doing my honours degree and I am so grateful to the university for that opportunity. Janusz, you're calling us from Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning to the rep from the gentleman from Wits University. My question is, and my point is, so you've got such a huge amount of students applying. It's not only in South Africa, Cambridge and other Sorbonne, they've got the same or similar situation. But how they do it, they select by this additional entrance exam. And so this metric result, actually, you give you the tickets to start the study. So it doesn't mean that you can be good for a specific subject of university. So do you perhaps select by the exams, entrance exams in Europe, if you want to go to college? I was start my education in college and then technicum. You go to the college, you have to pass the exam. So the people who are going to train you, they will know your level of education. The metric result, for me, it's only the permission to go. So how you are doing? And actually, in many, of course, we have got the economical difficult situation in our country, but in many other countries, the education is for free. The students don't pay anything. Maybe one day. How you select your students?
All right. Thanks for the question, Janusz. Jerome?
Yeah, so the main selection criteria is still the end of the year, is still the national senior certificate exam. That is still the main one. In some of the areas, we do look at the national benchmarking test outcomes and results, and of course, depending again on the area, there might be interviews or a portfolio, for example, in drama or in architecture and so on. So it depends on the area of study. But the main is still the matric exam that we do use. Of course, one must also know that we're involved in a number of pre-application processes. So in terms of guidance that we do at schools, information sessions where we work with schools around what the entrance requirements are. We have facilities where a young person can write some of those psychometric tests to kind of help them think about what those sorts of options for themselves is. But the main one is still the school leaving certificate.
So Jerome, when you then have amongst these 118,000 students that have applied, let's say a group of them applying for whether it's law, medicine, but all of them have 8 distinctions. How do you then decide who gets a place and who doesn't?
Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I am not involved in that process. That is done by the academics themselves. So it would be the deans with the academics themselves who kind of make those choices. Unfortunately, Cathy, it does mean that sometimes you have to look at the strength of that A. Right? Is the A 80% or is the A 90%? Is the A 90% or is it 91%? Unfortunately, I think that's the level of scrutiny that you then have to kind of do. But as I say, it's the academics who do that. I'm unfortunately not able to fully answer that one.
All right, let me bring in some of the views of our other listeners who are tuned into this conversation.
Hi, Cathy. And then you'll have people who would go on about the 30% pass mark, like your Muslimai minors. Yet, all of those students that apply to the hundreds of thousands that apply to the various universities have obtained bachelor passes, which are way above the 30%, the so-called pass mark. They meet the criteria for going into varsity. It's just that the numbers are too big, are too large.
Hi, Cathy. An important topic you're having with your guest regarding what happens every single year. I mean, I can just recall when I matriculated, which is many, many years ago, over 15 years ago. And this was the experience. And it's shocking that, not entirely shocking, but it's really unfortunate that today we still have the same issue, and we will continue to have it, where there isn't enough opportunities for young people to access institutions of higher learning. Can we please have a drive for TVET colleges and more colleges, community-based colleges, especially within the technical space, where young people can learn to be artisans and have that level of training where they don't have to leave their communities and their homes to come to Gauteng mostly and look for universities. Can we have that drive? Because that's what we need the most. Thank you, Cathy. It's Meta.
Morning, Cathy. Trevor here from the Eastern Cape. Cathy, you know what? By now, I don't know if our leaders do not realize that if we can have education for free, university for free, we will have so much graduates. We'll have, you understand? We'll have intelligent people, doctors, we'll have engineers. That some of them can go work outside of the country. You understand what I'm saying? I also wish our president would just open their eyes and their hearts and see that this is the key to liberate South Africa, education.
Yeah, thank you for those, for all of those voice notes that you've sent through, different reflections. And I think the last listener is right. Imagine what kind of difference it would make to the country if all of those who qualified for the subjects that they want to do or the courses they want to do at institutions of higher learning were actually able to do it, right? How capacitated would our population actually be? Jerome, I know you've got to go soon, but perhaps then to wrap up with this fund, tell us exactly how it's going to work. And of course, the commitment by Wits University to match rand for rand whatever it is that the SRC is able to raise through its fundraising initiative.
Yeah, so really we're very proud of our student leaders, of our SRC for this initiative, and for saying, you know, as young people ourselves, we're joining, we're doing the best that we can to also assist. So people can go onto the WITS website and the give. The details are on the site where they're able to give to the SRC fund. You can give as little as 100 Rand or whatever you are able to, just so that they can assist as many students as possible. But what we will do, of course, we will run a process internally where students can apply. We will look at the academic results. We will look at the areas of need, and in that case, assist them towards registration. What the SRC is also wanting to do is, once we through this period, is to continue so that we are also able to assist students beyond registration. There's the issue of food. How do we assist them there? So perhaps people can help with food. There's the issue of accommodation. How do we assist them there? And so the idea is really, it's a partnership. It's university together with students asking everyone, this country, everyone, to come on board and to assist us to make the dreams of our young people come true.
Jerome September, we'll leave it there. The Dean of Student Affairs at Wits University. You've heard the call then for people to partner with institutions of higher learning. Donate what you can, because that, of course, is going to go a long way in helping to support and assist those who struggle at the beginning of the year with their fees, and in particular registration fees. If you're unable to register, then you've lost the place. Then it means that there's a whole year potentially that you could have been furthering your education, but you are not, simply because you do not have the money to do it. And it's always those in the missing middle that seem to suffer the most. Ntlantla, you in KZN, good morning.
Good morning, my sister, and thank you for taking my call. My sister, in this country, we need to turn this country into a construction. Build more schools, build more universities, build more clinics, hospitals, and so on. Because this issue of saying we are going to have a student who qualify and not being afforded to be taken to pursue their careers. It's not right. It shouldn't be happening while we have got a cabinet which is full of useless people. Even if you can reduce the size of the parliament, even if you can have 50 people who are qualified and run the country, all these people, the money that they are receiving can build this country. Thank you, my sister.
And Ntlantla, that's part of what makes it, I think, so heartbreaking. Because we tell young people to do well, right? We tell them that they must go to school, focus in school, pass. And don't just pass, but get a quality pass, qualify for university. And look at how many of them have been able to do that. And what awaits for the majority of them is the harsh reality that people get a bachelor's pass because they want to go to university.
Yes, my sister.
And
yes,
that's what
sister.
they're told. They're told, if you get a bachelor's pass, you can go to university. But based on what Jerome just tells us, a lot of them are in fact not going to be able to go to university.
And we are finding Ombalula be cruising ngama-yacht beya Robben Island to show how useless our politicians are. They've got a decent to waste money on unnecessary things and then live on expensive houses and get so much benefit forward to run this country to the ground. Guys, I so wish as South African citizens we could stand up and hold our politicians accountable.
All right.
Because this is not on.
All right.
Not on.
Ntlantla, let's leave it there. Ntlantla is out in KZN. Yo, I don't know. There's something about those figures that has just struck me, hey? It is absolutely devastating. Absolutely devastating. And it's not to say that there aren't alternative pathways that work out for people. But the point is that if you're applying to an institution of higher learning, the hope that is in your heart, and just to know that there are going to be that many rejection letters going out saying that unfortunately you have not been given a spot. My word.
Hi, Cathy. You're speaking to Matepo. Hi to your listeners. Cathy, how much money are the universities making with these application forms that they are receiving? And what do they do with all that money? Because that money can be funneled back into student funding. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to leave it there on that particular note where the talking point is concerned for today. The show, of course, will be back with you again tomorrow between 9 and midday. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for all of the engagement throughout the last couple of hours. Stay tuned to SAFM for all your latest news and current affairs. Up next is the book reading.
The book reading. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAFM presents the first episode of the book These Things Really Do Happen to Me by Kaya Dlang, read by Lerato Mvelase.
You can't date him because he is black. As someone who was always generally terrified of making any moves that might be mistaken for hitting on a girl, I would often just live comfortably in what some call the friend zone. For many years, I was also celibate, which made things very easy for me. I did not have to try anything. There was no pressure to try to be smooth. It is no wonder then that I could never tell if someone was interested in me. When I worked at a restaurant called the River Club in Observatory, Cape Town, I met a beautiful blonde with the deepest blue eyes. We struck up a friendship. She told me she was working there to save money so that she could go live and work in London for a year or so. I was also working at the restaurant to live, to eat and survive in Cape Town, and to be able to send $50 back home weekly, which was not much at all. The kitchen staff would often tease me, saying, "That girl really likes you a lot." I would dismiss them as people who wanted to create some drama. "She told us," they would say. I still didn't believe them. We later discovered that we lived in the same suburb, Pinelands. From then on, if we worked the same shift, her mom or dad would pick me up and drop me off. It was perfect. I no longer had to walk to and from work. One day, when my housemates all happened to be away, she asked if we could watch a movie at my place. I thought that was a terrific idea because I often hide movies and watch them by myself in any case. Her mother dropped her off at my place, and we went to the shopping center on St. Stephen's Road in Pinelands. We hired As Good As It Gets, a movie I had already seen and loved. It was funny and romantic. I really wanted her to like it because it would be a validation of my good taste. We were sitting on the couch watching the movie when 10 minutes in, she began to rub her hands together. I found that odd. She said, "My hands are cold." Really, it's not cold at all. I carried on watching. A good 5 minutes later, it hit me. Oh my goodness, I think she wants me to hold her hand. I began to debate with myself. Should I offer her something warm to wear? Get a fleece maybe? Tea or coffee? For her hands perhaps? Yes, but what if she wants me to hold her hand? But what if she doesn't? I was dying. 5 minutes later, I braved it out and held her hand. We held hands for the rest of the movie. Afterwards, we talked about the movie and her plans for going overseas. "You must come," she said. I nodded, knowing that was never going to happen. Before we knew it, it was dark and past 10 p.m. Her curfew was 11 p.m., so I walked her home. It took another 30 minutes to walk to her place, which was close to Howard Shopping Center in Pinelands. We talked a lot on the way. When we got to her place, I hugged her goodnight and walked away. I had taken 5 steps when I felt her hand grab mine, and the next thing I knew, a full-blown kiss was happening, and there was silky blonde hair on my forehead. I was in shock, and I was also scared that I could be shot because people still had issues with a black man and a white woman being together. Still, we started a romantic relationship. To quote myself, I mentioned some of the racial reactions that people had to us during the time we were dating. One day, a few of us decided to go to the Maynardville Carnival, which happened in a park in Wynberg. Her parents would also be there. There was so much drinking of shots. We ate exotic foods like oysters. We kissed and held hands. Later, she went to find her friends while I waited in line to get food. She was gone for longer than I thought she should have been, and I began to worry. Eventually, I found her friends and asked if they had seen her. Yes, we were with her about 5-10 minutes ago, and then her mom wanted to talk to her. I hung out with the friends and waited. 10 minutes later, I saw her walking back towards us, fuming. What's wrong? I don't want to talk about it. Sorry, guys. I just want to be with Kaya now. I followed her as she stormed off. We went to get more shots. Then she told me, my mom saw us kissing and she started shouting at me about how disappointed she was because I go around kissing black boys. She told me that she was going to deal with her parents, and then she kissed me. There was not much soberness that night. I felt terrible for her because I could see how devastated, sad, and angry she was. I was not too shocked, but I have to admit, I was surprised her mother didn't know about our relationship. Her daughter was spending a lot of time with me. She often dropped her off at my place at night. Did she think we were meeting for prayer group? Come on. Was the mother just proud of the fact that her daughter had a black friend? And did the possibility of a romantic relationship never even cross her mind? I also thought her parents knew because her father had seen us together. One night, we had been watching movies at her house with her mom upstairs. While we were watching the movie on a mattress on the floor, we shared a big duvet and she had her head on my shoulder. We hadn't heard her dad's car arriving in the driveway, but he walked in, greeted us, and went upstairs. My heart had beaten rather hard when I saw him, not just because I was a black kid in his house, but because she had her head on my shoulder. This was not something I would have been able to do in any black father's house. Her dad never said anything, nor did he start refusing to drop me at home after fetching us from the River Club. After the Maynardville incident, her mom wouldn't give me a lift, so she would always insist that her dad picked us up. Our relationship eventually ended after about a year when she had saved enough money to go to London. At the time, I was still going strong with celibacy and did not intend to end up in another relationship. I was going to be single and live in harmony by myself. But, alas, it was not to be. I met a beautiful colored girl named Sam. Our relationship ended when she went to London because I was trash. It took me a long time to respond to her letters because I wanted her to dump me. I didn't have the heart to tell her that I was never coming to London. I think a part of her knew this. In one of the latest letters she wrote to me, she said, I miss you so much. I wish you could come down here. That chance. Oh well, met any hot chicks lately? I know you guys are like all the same. A pastor and the thong song. One of my great gifts, a superpower, if you will, is my ability to get the lyrics to any song wrong with absolute confidence. I had been given a lift by a church youth leader after we had come from a breakfast prayer gathering for men. He was an aspiring pastor named Brandon. We were chatting with the radio playing in the background when the thong song by Cisco came on. It was a massive hit at the time. I love this song, I said as I reached towards the knob and turned the volume. The soon-to-be pastor looked at me, slightly amused. Kaya, do you know what this song says? He asked. Of course I know what this song says. It was only the most popular song in the world. Every human on the planet knew it. What does it say? He said. I waited for the chorus to come on so that I could show him how well I knew the song. As if on cue, the chorus made its dramatic break, and I sang along with great lung power. Let me sing that song's a song, baby. That song's a song. The aspiring pastor laughed, swerving on the road like a drunk man. I was, of course, bewildered by this crazy behavior. Since ours was one of those charismatic churches where people would laugh spontaneously in the spirit, I immediately thought that the Holy Spirit had overtaken him. I figured it wouldn't be too long now before he broke out in tongues. I was wrong. Kaya, listen to the song carefully, he said, still laughing and gasping for air. I did as commanded. I heard the exact same thing. That song. He burst out laughing again. Tears began streaming down his face, and his face turned red. I realized that it might be possible that my superpower had reared its ugly head again, but I could still only hear what I had always heard. Mercifully, he could control his laughter long enough to tell me the actual lyrics. Let me see that thong, thong. All I could think was, what does an aspiring pastor know about thongs? When I was 21, 1. I worked as a waiter because I had dropped out. 2. I had dreadlocks. 3. I was skinnier. 4. I quit working as a waiter even though I had no other job because I was starting to think I was destined to be a waiter all my life. 5. One day I was painting a school when I saw a helicopter crash. They survived. I was interviewed by ETV's E-News, my first TV appearance. 6. I helped a friend of mine, Chloe, start a magazine, and I had the fancy title of marketing manager. 7. I spoke about the magazine in front of 110 schools in the Western Cape, from the richest to the poorest. 8. I spoke at one Afrikaans school in Bellville. When they showed me the hall before assembly, there was an old South African flag hanging on the wall. I was nervous as hell. By the time I went back to speak, the flag had been removed. 9. I dated a white girl, and we'd occasionally get racial slurs thrown our way when walking together. 10. I kept a journal, which I sometimes read now to see how I have become worse or better. 11. I had my first bottle of sparkling wine, a cheap one. 12. Under the most extraordinary circumstances, I found a very important suitcase I'd lost the previous year. 13. I lived in a tiny room, which was better than being homeless as I was the previous year. 14. I took the train every day and I read on the train every day. 15. I read the Bible and I prayed every day. 16. I didn't know I would be where I am today, but I was hopeful. 17. I had been through the worst and I was not afraid. It was the beginning of greater things to come.
That was another episode of the book These Things Really Do Happen to Me, written by Kaya Dlanga, read by Lerato Mvelase. The book is available online and in all leading bookstores countrywide. It is broadcast on SAFM at 11:45 Monday to Thursdays on The Talking Point. It is produced for the station by Vovi Patala, read by Lerato Mvelase, technical production Wiseman Manele, Nanda Khoza, and Tato Mapurum.
It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 16th of January 2025. A very warm welcome to Update at Noon here on SFM. Leading the conversation, I'm Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up in the next hour,
government does have a plan to ascertain on whether this particular shaft is empty. Everyone has been retrieved. There is a plan, but it's not for public consumption. Police are conducting a final phase of rescue operations at the Stilfontein mine in the Northwest Province.
And the surge of humanitarian assistance in the Gaza will begin, and the innocent people can have greater access to these vital supplies.
And Israel and Hamas have agreed to a ceasefire in Gaza. Coming up in sport,
bring you the latest from the Australian Open. Henk Latergan retakes the lead in the Dakar Rally. And who are Manchester United playing tonight?
And is that what you're focusing on?
Yeah, a little bottom table match. I thought we might as well.
You'll hear more from John Gericke later on in the show. Please get in touch with us. Let us know what's on your mind. 41391. That's the SMS line number. Charge at R1.50 per SMS. Or you can also write to us via X at SABC News_radio. Or you can send us a WhatsApp voice note. That number 0826923909. Well, these and more stories coming up on this Thursday edition of Update at Noon. First, though, time for the latest news with Mohlahlana.
Thank you, Sakina. Top stories: cage lowered underground at Stilfontein mine, and parents await for their children to be placed in schools. For SAFM News, I am Mohlahlana, and a very good day. Police have confirmed that a cage has been lowered underground at Shaft 11 in Stilfontein in Northwest to verify reports by community volunteers that there are no illegal miners remaining underground. Police say the total number of illegal miners retrieved in Shaft is sitting at 246, while 78 were certified dead. The operation, led by government, started on Monday this week to retrieve illegal miners underground. Police spokesperson Brigadier Athlenda Mate elaborates.
We can confirm that as of yesterday, we had 246 alive illegal miners that were retrieved, and we had 78 that were certified as deceased. That number still stands. We have the mine rescue services operations that are currently underway. The cage has been sent down alone with the camera. The purpose of that is to ascertain on whether everyone that was alleged to be underground has been evacuated.
There's growing anger and frustration among parents queuing outside the Ekurhuleni North District office in Benoni for their children to be placed in schools. Some of the parents say they've been coming to the district office since Monday. However, they've not received a positive response. One of the parents, Lisa Kekulu, said she successfully applied for a grade 8 child through the Gauteng online admission system last year, but she was told yesterday that her child was not on the system. The South African Pro-Palestinian Formation BDS coalition has welcomed the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The coalition hopes that the deal will provide respite to the people of Gaza following 15 months of conflict. Meanwhile, outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden has had a telephonic chat with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the ceasefire and hostage deal with Hamas. Kaelihle Khumalo has more.
The BDS coalition says the genocide in Gaza could have not occurred without the political and military supports provided by the US, Germany, the UK and other European nations. It also says Israel's unparalleled impunity has allowed it to maintain its 76-year-old regime of settler colonialism and apartheid. The pro-Palestine group adds that a ceasefire is key to end the genocide against the 2.3 million Palestinians in the illegally occupied and besieged Gaza Strip. It's further called on Israel to leave Gaza and the West Bank.
The case against 18 security guards allegedly involved in the fatal shooting at the Nyanga Taxi rank on the Cape Flats has been postponed in the Athlone Magistrates Court to the 23rd of this month. This is for the court to obtain bail information, including confirmation of employment and residential addresses of the accused. This follows a shooting incident on Tuesday that left one security guard dead and 6 others wounded. Western Cape Police Commissioner General Thembisile Phathekile says the shooting happened between two warring groups of the same taxi organization. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Ottawa will consider all possible countermeasures if Donald Trump implements his threats to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian imports. 3/4 of all Canadian exports are to the United States. Speaking after discussing the issue with Canada's 13 provincial leaders, Trudeau said he supported the principle of a proportional dollar-for-dollar response.
We have made it very clear that everything is on the table as potential responses, but we've also been very, very clear that it has to be fair across the country. If the American administration moves forward with its plans on tariffs, it will first and foremost hurt American citizens and American consumers, but it'll also hurt Canadians.
Recapping the top story, police have confirmed that a cage has been lowered underground at Shaft 11 in Selfontein in Northwest to verify reports by community volunteers that there are no illegal miners remaining underground. I am Mondelambana for SFM News Headlines at 12:30.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
Well, thanks, Ornella. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to Update at Noon. Looking at that diary and some of the stories that we are following this afternoon, that ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, and it will unfold in 3 phases. And just taking a look at that in terms of what would happen at first, 42 days of no fighting, and that will be the first part of it, and making sure that there's enough aid that is able to pass through, get to the people that need it, etc., etc. After that, it is, of course, moving on to the exchange of the hostages. It's 33 hostages, as they had said. In fact, that's still part of phase 1, the 33 hostages that need to be released, and then withdrawal of the Israeli troops. So that would be in phase 1, and then they will move on from there to a point where they will then also exchange in the final phase the retrieval of the bodies on both sides. So it seems as though that ceasefire agreement will take place, and as we said, with the President-elect Donald Trump due to be inaugurated soon, it's something that he wanted done. It's something that the Biden administration wanted done before he takes office. And remember, he said that all hell will break loose if that deal is not done and the hostages not returned by the time he gets to office. Who nobody knows what that means, but this is what he is on record as saying. Well, that's the one big story. The other one is, of course, here locally in Stilfontein in the Northwest Province, where police say that the recovery mission is now at a sweeping phase. So they are now going down. Don't think that there are any more people to bring up alive, but they were saying previously that the bodies that are still underground are in such condition that they could not be brought to the surface. So they are now sweeping that area. So we'll try and speak to the police just to get the latest, but our reporter Zebulon Mayine is also on site, and he will give us the latest from what he's able to glean. And of course, we'll try and speak to one of the volunteers there, you know, the people who would go down those shafts, and find out from them what it is that they saw, and just get the latest from Stilfontein. And we have quite a few court stories as well that we'll be taking a look at, as well as the Judicial Conduct Tribunal probing allegations of sexual harassment against Judge President Selby Mbenenge. And, excuse me, quite interesting yesterday what happened there in terms of the text messages that were exchanged, and of course the evidence that was led. So we'll take a look at that. Also keeping an eye on back to school, and of course the fact that you have some children who are still not placed. You heard yesterday from the MEC in Gauteng, and talking about 14,000 learners and parents of those learners obviously still trying to get their children placed. But most of them seem to have been told that it should be done within a 10-day period. So lots to go through. Let's see where we can get in terms of how many of these stories we can cover this afternoon.
The SAFM playwriting competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
Now, Now, police say that almost 2,000 illegal miners have resurfaced from Shaft 11 in Stilfontein since August last year. And this as rescue operators continue to search for any other potential miners who may still remain underground. 2 community volunteers who helped retrieve some of the dead bodies and also help in the rescue efforts say that all the miners have now come to the surface. They also claim that only human remains can be seen underground, but they could not manage to load these onto the rescue cage as it was lowered underground on Monday. And National Police spokesperson Brigadier Atlenda Mate explains.
I can confirm that from the 18th of August 2024 up until now, a total of 1,907 illegal miners have resurfaced. Margaret Shaft was 1437 plus the additional 7 that have resurfaced in the last 2 days. We have Buffles 11 Shaft 365, Buffles 10 103. In terms of nationalities, we have Mozambicans 1,125 that have been arrested. Zimbabweans, we are standing at 465. Lesotho nationals 200, South Africans 26. We have Malawians 1, Congolese 1, and the bodies remain at, we had indicated that 78, it's the number between Monday and Wednesday, right? Yeah, so 87, it's the total bodies of illegal miners that have resurfaced from the 18th of August 2024. And as we've indicated, only 2 have been identified thus far because of the challenge that the majority of them are undocumented. Some of them, it was decomposed bodies that DNA process to try and identify who these individuals are is underway. We can confirm that of those that have been arrested, a total of 9 illegal miners have been hospitalized because they required further medical treatment. They are under police guard in hospital. So that is the latest as of now. We are expecting the Acting Provincial Commissioner, Major General Patrick Asaning, to provide an update later this afternoon. But for now, we can confirm that the cage of the Mine Rescue Services has gone down to obtain whether what the volunteers told us yesterday is indeed true, that there are no longer any illegal miners down there. But as government, we are still standing static at all these shafts. Operation Vala Umgodi is not stopping. We are continuing with the fight.
Now, Mate further has called on relatives of the deceased illegal miners to come forward and to help identify their loved ones.
Some of the bodies were decomposed, some were bones. And then, like I've indicated, the challenge is that the majority of them are undocumented and they're illegal immigrants. So it would be a process to try and identify them. And you recall, if we're trying to identify people who are undocumented, you would need to compare DNA with family members. So, and that is why yesterday we called on all family members that are looking for their loved ones to approach the Stilfontein Police Station with information. We do have our experts, forensic science lab experts that will then obviously take that DNA and compare it with the bodies that we currently have at the government mortuaries, and then thereafter. But in terms of the causes of death, we will rely on the Department of Health pathologists to then conclude with their reports. When they are ready, we are not rushing them. When they are ready, they will then provide those particular reports to the police, and then we will be in a better position to ascertain what caused the death of these illegal miners. But as I've indicated yesterday, we are investigating various allegations that have come to the fore, and that underground food was being kept away from these illegal miners deliberately by the ringleaders. Secondly, that they were being assaulted and tortured underground, that they were being killed by the ringleaders. So we are following up all that information. So each and every illegal miner that has resurfaced, we have taken a statement from each of them where they are detailing what was happening underground. So those particular statements will be analyzed, that particular information will be brought before court. And yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to identify who the real ringleaders are behind this. But we do have information. We are following up on positive information on who they are. And as I've indicated earlier on, our members, our teams are already busy with the kingpins that were underground with these illegal miners.
And that was a National Police spokesperson, Brigadier Atlenda Mate. For the latest from Stilfontein, we joined on the line now by our reporter, Zebulon Maine. Zebulon, good afternoon. So despite initial reports that there are no longer any illegal miners underground, the rescue operation is still ongoing, as we understand.
Good afternoon to you, Sakina, and the listeners. No, what we understand that the operation for now is still suspended. Hence, in the morning we had a media briefing with National Police spokesperson Brigadier Atlenda Mate, giving us an information to say that they have lowered a cage underground to go and assess if there's any other illegal miner who's still underground. But for now, we are still waiting for acting provincial commander Major General Asanen to give us a feedback in the afternoon with regards to that. But we understand that yesterday in the afternoon, that's where the two volunteers who were going down with the cage in the morning to assist the mining rescue operation, they came with the information to say that there are no illegal miners underground. What is left there is only dead bodies. So that's why this morning they have lowered a cage to assess if there's any other illegal miner who's still underground. Then we'll hear from acting provincial commander Major General Asanin to hear what is it that they are going to do going forward. But the police are saying that they will remain static here in Shaft 11. And also yesterday they got a report yesterday that there are a number of illegal miners who resurfaced at Margaret Shaft, which is few kilometers away from here, and also in Shaft number 10.
So when the police talk about doing a sweep, so to speak, what method are they using, Zebulon? They're sending that cage down, but how are they going to establish what is down there?
Well, on Tuesday, we posted this question to a project manager for this mining rescue, Manas Fori. He explained to us that their cage has multiple cameras, and also on the surface, they with the monitors on the surface where they can be able to see what is happening underground. Because he was saying that Monday they have encountered some problems where illegal miners wanted to overload that cage. Hence, they have decided to send 2 community volunteers underground to maintain order there. So that cage, it does have multiple cameras where they will be able, when they control it, they will be able to see where it's going and what is it around it.
So as far as that goes, in terms of what was said by the volunteers that went down in that cage, were those cameras not operational then, Zebulon?
Once that cage is operating, once that cage or the machine is starting to function, they activate those cameras. Whether it goes down or it goes up, those cameras will be working so that they can be monitored, because there's a person who's controlling that cage going down, and also the cameras, in order for them to see what is happening. Hence, that's why they managed to stop this issue of illegal miners who who wanted to overload the cage. So that's why Fore was saying that it does have multiple cameras. They are able to see when they are on the surface what is happening underground, where does the cage goes to, and so on, what is it around it.
And as far as the bodies are concerned, 78 bodies brought to the surface since Monday. At this point, do we know to which mortuaries those have been taken?
What we understand is that some of these dead bodies were taken to the local mortuaries of the Department of Health. But we had reports yesterday from some community members saying that it seems they had allegations that the mortuaries around here, especially Klerksdorp, Tshepong and Potchefstroom, the mortuaries rather are full to capacity. And then we did ask the Department of Health whether it's true or not. Lucas Mutibe, the spokesperson for the department, told us that basically refuted those allegations to say that there's nothing like that. What he understands is that they only received 9 bodies in Klerksdorp, Tshepong. But if that is what they're going to establish, that the state mortuaries are full to capacity. They have other pathology facilities in Poking and also in Bretso, where they can house a sizable number of dead bodies that can be taken to those mortuaries.
With regard to the 2 that Brigadier Linda Mate said had been positively identified, do we know anything about the 2 people who were identified or their families, Zebulon?
What we understand, we only understand the one who is a Mozambican, and we understand that that particular illegal mine worker has been buried as we speak now at his country.
And then, of course, the other question is what the volunteers had said. There were still bodies underground that they could not bring to the surface. Was there any indication of how many bodies still remain underground?
They couldn't specify to us that how many bodies are, but they also cited that also in shaft number 10, there are over 200 bodies that are still there, because some of them prior to this operation led by government, some of them they tried to go and resurface at shaft number 10, and some of them they couldn't. Some managed to resurface, but some they couldn't resurface because of the starvation and so on, and then they had to fall back down to the ground. And what they are saying that some of the body parts are scattered and so on, but they couldn't establish as to how many dead bodies are still left underground.
So with regard to that specific information, have the police given any indication of what they will do in order to try and establish the final death toll?
Yeah, I think that's the one that you will hear from acting provincial commander Major General Asaneng as to what is it that they are going to do with regards to those bodies that are still underground. But I believe they will have to evacuate those bodies. But we'll hear from them as to what is the way forward.
Zebulon Maine, thanks so much for the update. Our reporter in Stilfontein in the Northwest Province, Zebulon Maine. And now we're joined by the Rescue Operations Mine Rescue Service CEO, Manus Fourie, whom Zebulon was mentioning as well. Mr. Fourie, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Hello, just come again. Sorry, you were breaking up.
I'm welcoming you to the show. Thanks for speaking to us.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the listeners.
Mr. Fourie, first and foremost, if you could just explain to us what exactly goes into a rescue operation of this nature in terms of equipment and what you will be able to establish once your equipment goes down.
So actually we are completed. We came back this morning to come and scan and to see if there are any people left in the shaft, of which we haven't detected any persons. So we actually just hoist the machine up. Yeah, it's a complex situation. I mean, you need to have specialized equipment that's proud to say in South Africa, this is the first time in the world actually that a rescue like this means has been conducted with the equipment that we do have. We identified a while ago that should something happen in our deep mines in South Africa, that we would require something that can go down deep and go and rescue our people. So this machinery came quite in place during this incident.
So please explain to us, because our reporter was telling us about cameras that are attached to this cage. Just give us a sense of what the cage is equipped with and what you are able to then learn once that cage goes underground.
So the cage is equipped with a camera at the bottom, a camera inside the cage, and a camera at the top of the cage. So with that means we can then detect what's happening below, above, and we can also look onto the level into a direction to see what it looks like. The cameras also got the capability of an audio, so if somebody would have shouted to say that we want to come out, then I can also hear that.
So in terms of the bodies that we are told cannot be brought to surface, is that captured on your cameras?
Yeah, I can't account for that. We haven't detected or seen any. So I'm not sure whether it's in another place, but where we are and what we have seen and detected and the feedback we got from some of the guys that was assisting us, we haven't detected anything like that.
So is there any indication at this stage from those who procured your services of whether they will still need your services perhaps at another entry point?
We will go and assess some other areas which we have identified. So we will go and make sure from an expert opinion whether it's possible or not to go down the shafts and what conditions may prevail in those areas.
And just finally, Mr. Fourie, quite a bit been written about the cost of this rescue operation. So how much is this process costing?